Well, here comes Nat Siver as Susie Bates defends into the onside. This modest target, 198 for victory to level the series. Alex Hartley, you've had your lunch. You're back in action. What do we reckon to this run chase?
Yeah, I think New Zealand can just take their time, can't they? They don't have to do anything too rash. As we've got smiles on our faces. Kate Cross has just blown us a kiss from fine leg.
Which, you know, it's lovely to have the interaction with the players. Siver is in, bowls, defended once again. She looked up, saw us in our commentary box, and, you know, inevitably, she's looking towards us again. Big grin on her face. Hello, Crossy.
It's going to be like this the whole game now, isn't it? But yeah, New Zealand don't have to do anything too rash. Yes, in the first ODI, they probably went about their run chase slightly wrong in the power play.
In comes Siver, bowling to Bates. It's in the air, just short of Sophia Dunkley, who's waiting quite straight. Extra cover. 3 dot balls. It's worth reminding us, Phil Long, exactly how that innings started last time, because it really was extraordinary, wasn't it? The way that New Zealand blocked, really, that opening phase.
Yeah, they blocked and blocked. Of course, in that first game, it was Catherine Bunt and Nat Siver opening the bowling, but yeah, Catherine Bunt started there with 4 successive maidens to start the New Zealand innings.
Siver is in, and there's an aggressive shot that will beat the dive of backward point Tammy Beaumont and run away to the boundary. Cross in pursuit won't get there. And up and running, the New Zealand run chase. 4 without loss, the target 198.
Yeah, that was good from Bates. Siver just getting a line and length wrong, slightly too full from Siver, and Bates was able to drive it into the offside in front of backward point for 4. There's no cover inside the ring, a huge gap there as England have got a slip and a gully in place.
Yeah, aggressive field from England early on. They'll be thinking if we can get an early wicket, this door does open. There is an edge, but it'll run away past that fielder in the gully. Cross sprints round from deep third to pick up and gets the acclaim of the crowd in front of us.
Yeah, just to compare with the other day, New Zealand have now scored as many runs in this innings as they scored in their first 7 overs in their chase.
That's amazing.
So they'll want to rectify that, New Zealand, but they'll know that they don't have to be too reckless because they're only chasing 193.
Indeed, 198.
My eyes are really bad.
No, they need a further 193. That scoreboard is a little confusing. In comes Siver, bowls to Lauren Down, who gets a first run as Tammy Beaumont falls flopping onto her front and can't quite get there. 6 without loss. Because it says at the end of the over, I should say, New Zealand need another 192, because it says up there to win 192, so it depends how you interpret that.
So I was right, actually. They said they'd need 193 to win.
Well, you actually said they're chasing 193.
Oh, so I was wrong.
It's amazing. Your ability to rewrite history is quite astonishing.
If you say anything with confidence, people believe you.
I don't, because I can always tell when you're not 100% certain. Because there's a little bit of a look which just tells me you're blacking it.
Don't know what you're talking about.
6 without loss. Tash Farrant's going to have a bowl. Leading wicket taker in the 100, left arm over the wicket. I should say that there has been a change in the umpires out there. Anna Harris, who was making an international debut today, 22 years old, is feeling unwell, so has been replaced on the field by Paul Pollard. Farrant, with ball in hand, is going to run in from the new road end. Under cloudy skies now here in Worcester. And Farrant, with an approach of a dozen or so paces, moves in to bowl, and struck on the pad is Lauren Down. But it is outside the line, so there won't be an appeal for LBW from England.
Yeah, Tash Farrant swinging the ball back in towards the right-hander. Make the most of the first few overs from this end for Tash Farrant as the ball still swings. She had a brilliant 100, as you say, leading wicket taker, proven herself. She's gone away, worked really hard on her game.
She's bustling in now. It's a full delivery, which comes off an inside edge, running into the leg side, chased, running our way by Nat Siver, and fielded eventually at square leg by Danielle Wyatt. 7 without loss, 191 further runs required.
She's always said, Tash Farrant, when she lost her England contract a few years ago, that she wasn't done. And I think she's gone away, worked on her game, worked really hard on her batting, her fielding. got a few more change-ups with the ball, and it's so good to see her back with the 3 lions on her shirt.
Real example of, one, what can be achieved through hard work, but also how the system does now really allow for that and give players the chance to take that time. As Farrant is bowling to Susie Bates, cuts into the ground, and there will be a single, then no, a misfield from Dunkley isn't too problematic because Winfield is there to mop up. And I mean that not criticising the previous setup, but purely because by the lack of professional contracts available, players couldn't take that chance to dedicate their career to cricket because they had to pay the bills.
Yeah, and that's a massive step for women's cricket.
Farrant bowls, played into the ground, but well stopped in her follow through by Tash Farrant, and there is no run.
Because previously, if you were contracted by England and then you lost your contract, there was no fallback plan. So as you said, you would have to go and get a full-time job, but now you can go away, play for your region, get contracted anywhere else, and it gives you a real opportunity to carry on playing cricket and giving you the best opportunity to get back in an England shirt.
Farrant in, left arm over, very full, pushed forward by Bates, but she won't find a run because waiting at mid-off is Lauren Winfield Hill. England don't have much to work with in terms of runs. It's really only that partnership between Farrant and Danielle Wyatt, the 2 players coming into the side today. 51 runs for the final wicket that has given England anything to bowl at.
Yeah, without those 51 runs that have been struggling England.
Farrant in. A very full delivery once more. It's good work from Lauren Winfield Hill, and it's a sort of fielding at mid-off as she dives to her right to prevent the run that can make a huge difference, because with England defending a low total, they need to stop any momentum and really work hard to cut off any early runs. So just the 1 run from Farrant's first over, 7 without loss is the New Zealand score. We've got a good crowd in front of us, a good crowd around the ground. Let's see our friend Jack Rule down in front of her, a big fan of the women's game, and also he scores the game as he watches, which is the best way of watching a game of cricket.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it Phil?
Phil, that's a good question. Let's ask our scorer.
Yes, every time, of course it is.
We got 2 slip. We do. We've got keeper standing up to the stumps now, and then we've got Heather Knight and Lauren Winfield Hill standing as slips well behind where the keeper is. Phil.
Yeah, but scoring in the crowd is a whole different matter. You need clipboards, and you need to know where to put your pens.
Of course. This is left alone by Lauren Down.
Honestly, I couldn't think of much worse.
I with the greatest respect, and I love you dearly, but I'm not convinced if you handed me a scorebook how much I would believe it.
No, neither would I. I don't know how you mark wides and bys, and they're like triangles and stuff, aren't they? It gets quite confusing.
Well, you can come up with your own system. That's the joy of scoring.
How exciting.
Yeah. Look, you're someone that talked about enjoying traffic earlier. This is played defensively into the offside. And so don't talk to me about sort of scoring being tedious. You said, the drive up was really boring. There were no cars on the road.
Yes, because I couldn't people watch.
You should be road watching.
Yes, but you always have a little, I reckon that in that black Astra, I reckon it's a man in his 40s, and you go past and go, oh, I was right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, fair point. Matt Siver into bowl, pushed into the offside, into space for a single that will be taken. Nicely played by Down into space. New Zealand 8 without loss. And we're midway through the 3rd over of this run chase. I see some supporters taking a photo of Kate Cross, who's standing on the boundary edge, 15 yards away from us.
I think they're no balls fans. Fans of the podcast.
Siver running in. It's played firmly into the turf. Square of the wicket on the offside by Susie Bates, but straight to the hands of Tammy Beaumont. I think they are, because they've got their Nobles merch, and they listen to the podcast. Good episode last week with Jimmy Anderson.
Yes, we've got a very special guest this week, Henry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Are you going to give us any clues?
No, it's a secret.
Okay.
I'm going to actually tee it up first.
Oh right, you have to book it.
Yes.
Siver bowls, thrashed away. A good dive from Tammy Beaumont is in vain, and actually Dunkley behind her couldn't quite get enough on it to prevent at least 1 being taken, and eventually they get back for 2. So a couple into the offside, and the score 10 without loss. So it's a secret to you 2 at the moment as well, is it?
No. We've messaged said person, and they said yes. We just need to tee up a time.
Oh right, fine.
But we are keeping it a secret. We don't normally, but we thought we'd add a bit of surprise.
Is it Phil Long?
Surprise!
Driven back past the bowler by Susie Bates, but only as far as Eccleston at mid-off.
That would be the worst type of surprise, wouldn't it? You teed it up for weeks on end and then it was revealed to be me.
No, Phil. There's many... Look, Phil Long has one of the more remarkable stories in world cricket, I would argue. 3 overs gone, New Zealand 10 without loss, chasing 198 for victory. He spends his winters, when he can, when allowed, travelling around the subcontinent, watching any game of cricket he can. He likes nothing more than a 17-hour train journey.
And you know what, 14 years ago today, I was in Durban when Stuart Broad disappeared for 6 sixes. One over, I was, very lucky to be there, very.
Tash Farrant is in. Played defensively by Lauren Down into the offside. There's no run, which is quite a moment to have been at. Just look at the replay there, Alex. A little bit of in-swing for Farrant here.
Yeah, she does. She shapes the ball back into the right-hander. And now we've got a bit of cloud coverage as well. It might help Tash swing the ball. But she just looks to target the stumps bowl full and straight, and she's been so effective this year.
Moving in again, Farrant bowls onto the pads of Lauren Down, who will get one into the leg side. Front of square out to Danielle Wyatt, so another run added. New Zealand 11 without loss early in this run chase.
Yeah, it suddenly feels like September, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's funny that.
What I like about watching Tash Farrant bowl is everything's nearly a wicket. Hands are on the head. She's a bit like Catherine Brunt. They're both very, very competitive people.
And lovely fluent action. It sort of just bustles into the crease, and it looks all very repeatable as this is played into the leg side for a single. They'll push for the second run and get there comfortably enough. Throw comes in. 2 more to the total for New Zealand. 13 without loss. Do you know what I mean by that? It's sort of... There's a sort of elasticity to the approach. It's not one of those that is sort of juttering and shuddering. Everything seems to flow quite nicely.
I do know exactly what you mean. Quite often when you play international cricket, though, you've got a really lovely action. You make it to the top of your game.
You do, but then you get the odd ones like Jasprit Bumrah. Farrant bowls, defended back by Susie Bates, and you know, who looks almost the limbs are so straight. It looks almost like as though there's sort of no middle joint in. You know what I mean?
And his is jittery, isn't it?
So that's part of the joy, I suppose, is seeing all of the variations that you get across the game. Keeper standing up to the stumps. There's one slip in place. The 2 fielders outside the circle. Square leg and deep third. This is punched firmly as far as mid-wicket. Running round. And the score remains at 13 without loss. We've got a ball left to the 4th over. And the clouds rolling in at New Road. There's barely a breath of wind, so there's not really that sense that any weather that might be coming in is roaring in quickly. There's not that feeling, but it is just a little greyer than we had at the start of play. Farrant into bowl to Bates. Into the leg side it goes. 1 run taken, so the former skipper will keep the strike, and New Zealand find themselves having negotiated the 4th overs to start the innings at 14 without loss. Easy for me to say.
You
Alex.
took the words out of my mouth.
I find it much easier when I see your head look round at me, eager to take the mick. It's easier if I do it myself.
I don't mind this start from New Zealand. They've been able to just take their time. You know, they're not chasing a massive total. They need 184 to win, and they've got 46 overs to do so. So yes, they want to rectify their mistakes from the previous game where they lost consistent wickets and didn't take advantage of the power play, but they don't need to do anything too silly.
Siver is in. It's run away nicely off the bat of Susie Bates down towards deep third, and Kate Cross for a single to start the 5th over. New Zealand 15 without loss now. Their target, just to remind you, 198 for victory. Top scoring in England's innings. And Lauren Winfield Hill made 39, but it was Danny Wyatt 63 not out that did the majority of the work to recover things for England, playing her 200th game for her country. Siver is in. Played round the corner, not terribly convincingly, and Heather Knight with high knees is sprinting back to try and collect running round from slip, but in the end it's Farrant that will pick up with wide signal. So actually it came off the gloves of Amy Jones on its way through. And so on to the total. We see a couple of runs, and the ball will have to be bowled again.
It was very wide as well, that from Natsir. I've just seen it on the replay. Just getting that one wrong.
17 without loss. 198 the target. As Siva is in, it's a full delivery, straighter ball, which is defended by Bates into the onside, very correctly and firmly.
I was about to say a very large lunge from
Was
Bates,
it?
that.
Yeah, unlike a very large lunch, which is what you had.
I can't believe you've put that picture on social media.
Well, I looked round, and honestly, it was like a scene from Jaws. Unbelievable. A
Look,
magic trick. Now you see it, now you don't.
the girl was hungry, all right?
Siva bowling to Bates, who plays the ball off the pads into the leg side. There's quite a long chase out there in the deep for Farron, and I'm not sure she's going to get there. The ball wins the race, and it is 4 runs played into space. There wasn't really any margin for Nat Siva to go leg side-ish, and the ball is played away convincingly to the ropes for 4 runs. So New Zealand 21 without loss.
Yeah, with the field she's got set, she can't stray down the leg side, as there isn't anybody out in the deep on the leg side. But that one clipped off the pads lovely by Bates. Tash Farron chases it to the boundary. Wasn't quite quick enough. The ball beats her to it.
Midway through the 5th over, 21 without loss. One of the scoreboards has frozen, Alex, which is just throwing us a little bit at the moment. Siva comes into bowl to Bates, who defends back to the bowler, having got that boundary. This is the joy for New Zealand, is they know that, you know, anything straight they don't have to worry about, just block it and the runs will take care of themselves.
Yep, they will indeed. They only need 3.9 per over. If that scoreboard's not the frozen one.
That's not the frozen one, don't worry. Siva is in, striking the pads of Bates, who looked a little discomforted for a moment, but England have no interest in the LBW, and the score remains at 21 without loss. Final ball of the 5th over, with England desperate for an early breakthrough, just to put a bit of pressure on and try and cause a headache for a New Zealand side chasing a low total. Siva in. Bates will get 1 into the leg side, pushes hard for that first run, and in fact the ball might run away for 4. It does. It scooted away across the outfield, and once more no protection out there, and the ball comfortably getting to the ropes for the second boundary of the over. 25 without loss after 5. Alex Hartley, some more from you, and then Emily Winter.
Yeah, that shot was almost identical for Susie Bates. Nat Siva just bowling on Susie Bates' pads, and she's only got a mid-wicket, a mid-on and a fine leg, so she's able just to knock that in front of square, straight out the middle of the bat, times it for 4. Nat Siva had her hands on her head, she can't believe it. But New Zealand going very nicely.
They are. I feel like Susie Bates today has come out and played a little bit more positively than we've seen potentially in other games this series.
Yeah, she's been really tentative with the bat and very pokey rather than hitting her shot. She hits the ball hard. She's best when she's being aggressive. So no pokey Susie Bates.
She hasn't shown any signs of that today. There's Farron into down, and that's a player miss outside the off stump, taken well by Amy Jones. 25 for none. I potentially think this pitch is maybe a little bit slower than we think, because some of the New Zealand shots we've seen so far, they've been popping up a little bit, a couple, and you can see from Heather Knight's fielding position here, she's captured just in front, which would suggest that. That's at mid-wicket on the onside, as in comes Farron to down, and that's racked on the pad. They think about single, they're not going to take it on.
I think down's someone that England can really put pressure on as well. You know, try and get in her face. They've got the catchers ready. As you said, Heather Knight has come from slip to in front of the bat, because Tash Farron swinging the ball into the right-hander, just hoping that she gets that little knock into the leg side, trying to play the ball with the swing.
In comes Farron again to down. That's down the leg side. Has she got a tickle on that? Eccleston's after it. She will get there, but they'll come back for a couple, and I think it's going to be signalled a leg bye. Yes, it is. And that's 27 for none now, New Zealand. 198 needed to win. And you feel England need a breakthrough fast.
And then it just brings in Amy Satterthwaite, who got runs in the previous game.
Farron into bait, down, and that's tickled on the leg side. Danny Wyatt does the fielding, just be a single. Down moves to 5, 28 for none.
I'd love to see Satterthwaite come in at 3 for New Zealand today. I think she was probably 1 too low in the previous game. Maddie Green coming in at 3. I think, yes, they want to spread out their main 3 players, but I still think your best batters have got to have the most time in the middle.
Farron in again to Bates. That's a lovely shot. She thinks about a quick single, got halfway up and then said, actually no. Kate Cross was quick to the ball there. They didn't want to take on her arm. 28 for none.
Throws the ball to Amy Jones, and skipper Heather Knight has to fall to the floor to try and get away from it.
Don't want to be taking out the skipper, do you, Kate? That's not going to keep you in the team.
That's not going to keep you in the team.
Again, that short mid-wicket still in place to Susie Bates as Farron in bowled, and that's hit down the ground, and Farron gets a half stop, and Heather Knight chases back. There's no single. That's the end of the over. That's 6 overs gone. 28 without loss. Bates 19 not out, and down 5 not out.
You can just sense it's got a little bit chillier in the crowd. We can see people putting jackets on.
Yeah, I was out there looking at the ground from a different angle, and it's quite overcast now compared to what we had at the start, didn't we? We had nice blue skies. Now it doesn't look like it's going to rain, or there's maybe a little threatening cloud to our right.
We'll ignore that one. We can't see it. It's behind that building.
And it can stay behind that building.
Yes, please.
But I mean, we're pretty sheltered in the commentary box, but a lot of the fans, or all the fans out there, would be getting very wet should it decide to rain. 28 without loss, and Nat Siver shining up the ball as she bowls from the digless end, and that's turned nicely on the leg side, and their comeback, they think about coming back for 2. It'll just be a single. Farron quick to the ball out there. 29 for none. Down will move to 6. Where do you think England go here? I'm guessing Kate Cross will come into the attack soon.
Yeah, Kate Cross will most likely come on first change, but they've got to get Sophie Eccleston on early for me. She's their best bowler, their most threatening bowler. Get her on.
Siver in again. That's forward in defence from Bates. She say no run.
She's batting at 7 today. Do you see a bowl for Danny Wyatt?
Probably not. They've got Charlie Dean, the off spinner. So, and then I think Heather Knight will bowl before Danny Wyatt. It's been a while since Danny Wyatt has bowled in international cricket. She used to bowl quite a lot. When I first started watching England women's cricket, she bowled every game.
In comes Siver to Bates again, forward in defence. Quick in the ring. Dunkley no run.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was just looking here. She's actually bowled 4 times in the last 43 innings that she's been part of. Yeah.
I think she had a bit of a back problem, so gets a sore back from bowling. I mean, she hits the ball far enough. She gets into the team for her batting. Don't worry about your bowling, Dan. You keep hitting it nicely over extra.
In comes Siver to Bates, and that's cut nicely through the offside. That's a fantastic cricket shot. That was out the middle. 4 more runs to Susie Bates. She's batting with purpose today and worrying for England. She moves to 23, score 33 for none.
Yeah, it was full. It was wide from Nat Siver, and Susie Bates able to drive that into the offside. A brilliant shot straight out the middle of the bat. But again, Nat Siver just hasn't quite got a line and length right. It was too full, it was too wide, and without a cover, you can't be bowling deliveries like that.
And Phil's loving this tune as well, giving us some dance moves to our left. He's about the most lively person in this Worcestershire crowd at the moment as Siver in and forward in defence from Bates. Will be no run. Interesting, I've just seen Cross. She picked up some grass, picked it out, and then just let it drop. Is she just looking to see where that wind's going?
Yeah, just looking to see. I think Heather Knight's asked her which end she wants to bowl from. They're just communicating now. She's got her arms in the air. I don't think she's too bothered. But yeah, she picks up the grass, see which way it blows in the wind to decide which end she'll want to bowl from.
Siver in again bowls, and that's forward. And will be no run again from Bates. That's the end of the over. Just 4 runs from it, 33 for none, and Alex is leaving us. And Isabel Westbury will be alongside me. She just moves in, but expensive from Siver. A boundary from all of her overs so far. but we will see Tash Farrant continue as Izzy joins next to us.
I was waiting for that red light to come on.
I was just leaving you hanging for that.
Yeah, I was just
longer.
flailing. we're divided by the COVID protocols and screens and things, and being very studious to that effect, of course.
Still a short mid-wicket in place.
Yeah, real statement of intent from New Zealand. As we mentioned, they were 5 for 1 after 7 overs of the day.
Farrant in, and that's pushed into the offside. They think about a quick single from down, but Dunkley again quick to it. Of course, when they were 5 for 1, Catherine Brunt was in the attack, wasn't she? And she bowled 3 consecutive maidens, who's obviously being rested today. So a change in frontline attack for England.
Yes, of course, because you think that Danielle Wyatt came in as a direct replacement for Catherine Brunt.
Farrant left arm over, and again that's played to Heather Knight at mid-wicket, no run.
Which, as far as the batting is concerned, you could say has come off. But equally, with that, you lose the bowling of Catherine Brunt, which was just sublime. I mean, I feel
like as well, Wyatt coming in batting at 7 and getting those runs has created a real dilemma for England selection. I'm thinking of the World Cup, because she's really made a statement there with what she can do with the bat. As in comes Farrant to down again, that's no run into the leg side. Heather Knight again coming in, does the fielding.
Well, it's something that's talked a lot about when referring to the England men's test team as what about the balance of the side? I think that's probably the question that hangs here. It depends, are you going to go batting heavy, bowling heavy, and if so, what kind of bowling? I think Maddie Villiers has been sort of fallen prey to that, falling out of this England ODI squad for this series.
Farrant in again from the pavilion end into down. That's turned nicely down the leg side. They're going to come through for a quick single. Eccleston shies at the bowler's end, but they make it comfortably in the end. Down moves to 7, 34 for none.
And the fact that we saw Lauren Winfield-Hill bat very well opening, batted in partnership with Danny Wyatt, and then we had that kind of comical, calamitous run out. And you think about it, they haven't really played that much together throughout the course of their careers.
Farrant into Bates down the leg side, taken nicely by Jones, and the umpire stretches his arms. A wide ball will be called, 35 for none.
Because quite often they've been competing for the same spot. So I think of Wyatt 78 caps. She's only played with Winfield-Hill 28 of those times, and if you look back at the last 5 years, so since the end of 2016, they've only played 10 ODIs together.
Yeah, so Farrant in again to Bates, this time driven nicely up to mid-off, will be no run. Winfield-Hill herself does the fielding, and I suppose that is when new players come into the side, that communication is not something that it takes time to develop, doesn't it? And as you said, often competing for the same spot, but I've actually been really impressed with Winfield-Hill at the top of the order. Yep. In comes Farrant again to Bates, and she's driven this time through to mid-off again. Winfield-Hill picks up, shies at the bowler's end, but Bates in comfortably. Bates will move to 24, 36 for none, and that's 8 overs gone. Yeah, I know she hasn't gone on and got that big total, and obviously today was a really unfortunate run out with a mix-up, but I actually think she's played nicely. She's timed the ball well, she's looked right at home, and I know there'll be a lot of talk, is that opening spot secured, but are they really going to change things now? There's not many ODIs, is there, between now and the World Cup?
Well, surely this is all part of their working it out, bringing in Wyatt at number 7, persevering with that Winfield-Hill Beaumont partnership.
That's a very different role, isn't it? Myself, who I tend to bat in the middle order. If you asked me to open the innings, that would be completely different for me, and I would not feel at home at all.
Let me introduce you to Danny Wyatt, a woman of many talents in a way, and one of the arguments of putting her at the opening slot is to get England off to a good, explosive start.
But she also can finish a game or finish the innings as she did here today, as in comes Kate Cross to Bates, and that's pushed into the offside. Dunkley does the fielding at extra cover, will be no run. She also can do that at the end of an ODI innings, can't she?
And what we saw today, I think, is going to be probably hugely encouraging as far as the individual Wyatt is concerned, is that this wasn't about finishing off and being explosive. This was about being responsible and actually sticking the hand up when nobody else had, sticking to the task at hand, playing on a tricky deck, some good bowling, and not getting out.
Kate Cross in past the umpire again. That's full. That's played nicely through mid-wicket from Susie Bates. Don't bother running there. Sweet timing off her pads. She moves to 28. Score 40 for none.
Well, considering that only one partnership for England, and it was a 10th wicket one, went beyond 50. This is looking slightly ominous for England. Heather Knight and Lauren Winfield-Hill put on 45 between them for the second wicket. But beyond that, it was slim pickings.
Kate Cross in again to Bates, this time driven on the up. Has that carried? They're claiming it at cover. I think that may be one that goes upstairs, or that could be Bates gone. I'm not sure what you're thinking there, Izzy, but England are certainly celebrating. Bates could be gone for 28 here, and that could be that breakthrough.
Well, Field is claiming it.
We need to see the replay.
I think it's going to go up. Yes, of course it is. There's just cover there, fingers underneath it.
Third umpire to direct, sir.
And the umpire's soft signal is out, which is also key.
I checked it's a fair delivery. Can we go with your best
we will
angle,
see
please?
what the review says, but Susie Bates looks very disappointed because she's played nicely for her 28. And she feels she's thrown that away after that boundary.
I think she knows she's out. I think they're going to give it out.
Okay, so
We're watching the
if you need
replay
to zoom
here.
on that, or show me some other angles, please.
Oh, that looks tight. That looks tight. It'll be one that will zoom, and I'm sure we'll rock and roll. But I think that's in the hands of.
I'll need to see another angle, please. That is not conclusive.
Susie Bates isn't hanging around like someone who thinks she's still in.
No.
She's edging her way towards the road.
And that's Danielle Wyatt again. So there's another thing we were just talking about her batting, is that her fielding is pretty on the money as well.
Yeah, certainly. I feel like Danielle Wyatt just adds real. She's just a class player, and she showed today that she can play in many situations with just the bat. But if she comes in, if she's not going to open the batting, if she comes in at 6 or 7, she could change a game because of the way she plays. And as she's used to opening, she can come in tricky situations, but she also can play aggressively, as we know she can hit some very unusual areas and 360 to take on a game.
Okay, I am ready to make my decision.
We're just waiting for the final decision. As
Sue Redfern sounds confident. She sounds like a woman whose decision is not going to be overturned.
the soft signal is also important, and we're just waiting to hear the decision as Bates is sort of hanging halfway off the square.
Oh, come on. It's going to go up onto the screen, and there we are. It's out.
Susie Bates gone for 28. England's first wicket then. Kate Cross gets her. Fantastic catch from Danielle Wyatt. 40 for 1, New Zealand.
Susie Bates was caught by Danielle Wyatt.
Well, if England are going to have a chance of winning this, I think seeing the back of Susie Bates is a very important part of that. You only have 197 runs to play with. That's a 40-run partnership there between Bates and Down. But Bates departs for 28.
Incoming batter is number 5.
Was that
Matty
Bates'
Green.
highest score of the series? I'm getting a nod from Phil, but I think
Including the T20s.
including the T20s. But I think she, for me, came out today with a bit more intent. She wasn't getting bogged down. She played some strong shots. And she looked a lady with purpose, but Cross gets the breakthrough.
Yeah, low scores in the T20. She actually made 34 in the last game, 1, 8 and 34, and then 1 in the opening ODI in Bristol. So it's not been a very productive tour for one of the world's best players.
Certainly hasn't. She's come back from an injury though. She had a long recovery from a shoulder injury, an operation. But it's not been easy for her in return. So the new batter to the crease is Matty Green, with Kate Cross coming in, and that's forward in defence from Green. Wyatt quick to the ball again, firing straight into Amy Jones' gloves. The girl with purpose today, 40 for 1. How do you think Danny would have been feeling as well at the start of today? Obviously it's her 200th game for England, but coming back into the ODI side, that's actually quite a big deal for her, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think she was very upset when she was dropped for the ODI series against India earlier this summer.
In comes Cross again to Green. That's a slash outside the off stump. Jones doesn't collect it cleanly.
Because she'd been playing pretty well in the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy. In the lead up to that, and her return suggested that she might, or she should on merit, get into the side over a few others that were picked in the squad. But it was more about, I think part of it was about sending a message to Wyatt, and this is the role in the team.
Cross to Green, forward in defence again. No run.
And what they expected of her, whether it be opening or as we've seen her today in the middle order. And it was a chance for her to go away, put her head down, perform well both in the T20, she was back in the England squad, but also on a domestic front as well, and show that she has the approach that England wanted from her, which was to take more responsibility, to shore up that middle order. And so to be back in the England squad, first of all, she didn't play in that first game. I think it's for her, it's being seen as an opportunity. But goodness, yes, of course she was very nervous this morning. I'm sure she was.
40 for 1, then New Zealand need 198 to win. Danielle Wyatt, who we keep talking about, was the top scorer, 63 not out in that first innings, as Farrant, the left arm seamer, in again and in defence from down. She's on 7 off 17. Bates took the aggressor of that opening partnership and now turned to down to get that scoreboard ticking over. Farrant at the top of her mark again from the pavilion end into down. She bowls, and that's played back down the pitch again. No run. England on the squeeze. You feel it's important for down. Obviously, we said in that first game when they were chasing England's total, they got bogged down early on, didn't they? A lot of dot balls. Bates was dismissed early, so these two really need to find a way to rotate the strike and get that scoreboard ticking over. Farrant in again, left arm over into down, straight to Knight at mid wicket. Another dot ball.
It's been something that England have been working on a lot of recent, and okay, maybe there were too many wickets falling today, but is ensuring that the strike rate, the run rate, doesn't dramatically recede once a wicket falls. Just trying to pick off, carry on where you left off, approaching with the same intent, and if you're not quite in, at least rotating the strike instead of a dot, getting a single for it.
Farrant in, driven nicely through the covers. That's a lovely shot from down. That's 4 runs. That will get the scoreboard ticking over. She moves to 11, 44 for 1.
Singles or boundaries, that's boundaries also help. That was a beautiful shot through the covers. There's nobody out there, just within the power play. There's nobody out there on the cover point boundary at the moment. It's slightly over pitched from Tash Farrant coming left arm over the wicket. That angle was there. It was free shot really, 4 down, and she leant into it nicely.
That will give down some confidence though, for sure. She's on 11 off 21 as Farrant in. Better length this time, pushed into the offside. Think about a single. There isn't one there. 44 for 1.
This is where I bring out one of my cliches and say it's a good reply, that. Good reply from Tash Farrant. And it was just back of the length, outside off. Amy Jones, as we quite often see her standing up to the stumps for the seam bowlers. So capable behind there. Heather Knight catching at mid-wicket.
Right on angle for us here in the commentary box as Farrant in again. That's a player miss outside the off stump this time. That's the end of the over. 10 overs gone, so that's the power play done. 44 for 1 New Zealand. England at the same stage with 59 for 1.
Concludes the power play.
Yeah, they were 59 for 1 at the power play. England, but they then went on to lose 8 wickets for 87 runs before that last week partnership of 51. Took them up to their score today, 196.
Nat Sivers bowled 4 overs, Tash Farrant now 5. Kate Cross has had 1. I wonder, we've got Charlie Dean out in front of us now. We're going to see a bit of spin. Sophie Eccleston, of course, I think she'll want to get into the fray, try and make a breakthrough, and England will have to make another few soon. They're going to defend that total of 197 as Ali Mitchell joins me.
Hello, Izzy. Yeah, Emily Windsor has made way for the moment. But New Zealand, yeah, this total of 198. And you look at England, we're 59 for 1 at the end of their 10 overs, 44 for 1. As Cross comes in now to Green, she's stroking it away, finds the gap between point and cover. Danielle Wyatt, and even as fast as she is, won't catch that one up. Down to the boundary in front of the ladies' pavilion, which is unfortunately unoccupied and seems closed off to the public. at the moment, whether that's for COVID reasons, but the little white building with the steps lead down the front and the wooden benches. But to boundary, to Maddie Green, off the mark with that, 48 for 1 then in this 11th over.
Yeah, this is a period where England were actually doing all right. It started to build after the early wicket of Tammy Beaumont, and it was before they lost, 4 wickets of 26 runs.
Yep, stuttering in the middle once again. Crosses in, it's beaten into the gloves of Amy Jones. Maddie Green couldn't lay bat on that. I think looking to try and lace it through the offside, like play it late.
That rose on her quite sharply, didn't it? Nice bounce there from Cross, who you might normally say was a more skiddy bowler. That one rose quite sharply on the batter, looking to cut it into the offside.
Heather Knight standing well back in a first slip position with the Jones standing up, Cross in again, finds middle of the bat this time, but only as far as Dunkley at extra cover and no run. We've got Charlie Dean fielding in front of us, deep third. And I was wondering whether, when you look at where the extra 10 overs are going to come from in the absence of Catherine Brunt, I did see Heather Knight seem to have quite a lengthy spell of bowling in the middle as I arrived at the ground this morning. Sophia Dunkley can bowl some leg breaks as well. There's Cross, comes in again, right arm over to Green's defending to the onside. Siva moves across to field, no run.
I would suggest that at this stage in her career, we're probably going to see less of Sophia Dunkley's leg spin in ODI cricket, especially with a low score. I think she's a very good bowler. I think she can turn it well. Just needs to get her consistency out there, which of course is a big ask of any leg spinner. But Heather Knight, of course, the most criminally underused bowler, I think, in ODI cricket.
The golden arm. Cross, a little fuller this time to Green. Driving, but square drive finds point and no run.
Would you expect Charlie Dean to bowl her full 10 overs?
I think if this match went for the full 50 overs,
yeah,
I think that she'd be slated to do that.
So you're okay then once you've got Charlie Dean, if she can bowl all
plus
10.
Heather Knight.
You need Knight to be bowling her 10 as well, because then you're Siva, Cross, Dean, Eccleston, Knight. There's 5 bowlers.
And Farrant. So you could get away with it.
So you could do 5 of each, or you mix it up. Cross. In again, playing it late. So well fielded at backward point, and it's a throw well wide of the stumps from Beaumont. Could have been an overthrow, but it's backed up by Siva. In fact, Charlie Dean was well placed to field that in the deep at third. If it had beaten Beaumont, end of the over, 49 for 1 after 11.
Yeah, so when you think in the last ODI, Heather Knight didn't feature at all. Charlie Dean, she bowled 8 overs, and New Zealand only managed to get to halfway through the 47th. So she may well have finished her 10, but or at least there or thereabouts. And I think
in which case
she's been picked as a bowler.
Knight. Yeah. She, in a sense, sort of wouldn't be doing her role if she wasn't bowling her 10. But I think the fact that Knight was having a bowl gives a little bit of leeway if suddenly a batter goes after goes after Dean or even Eccleston. Then you've got Heather Knight to
I think
come in.
She's more than a useful tool, and I think it's actually more a reflection of her character as captain. She doesn't want to sort of thrust herself in, but she should. I think she's a great bowler, especially in ODI cricket.
Tash Farrant's continuing. Left arm's back of a length to Green, and she is defending back up the pitch. Farrant picks up off her own bowling.
She gets through her overs very quickly. She can really hurry a batter. She bowls very flat as well. Doesn't turn it all that much, but difficult to get underneath. And as you say, quite often a partnership breaker.
You're on the inside. Is she 100% fit, Heather Knight?
Is anybody beyond the age of 30 ever fit playing cricket for a living?
It's noticeably the biggest domestic summer for any cricketer. Falling forward, Green is going to balance a touch there. Back up the pitch, Farrant fielding off her own bowling. And I mean, obviously Catherine Brunt, being the oldest of all the team, is feeling it in particular, and that's why she's being rested from today's game.
I think Knight is as fit as she can be, but considering that there is going to be that workload management, and she has come off the back of an injury before the T20 series.
Yeah, enough to keep her out of the early stages of that. Farrant left arm over. It's fielded backward point, coming forward and looking to drive, but can't find the centre of the bat, and score remains on 49 for 1.
This has been the heaviest workload of a summer for these women than it's ever happened before, and that's because the domestic workload is massively upticked through the 100, through the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy, through the Charlotte Edwards Trophy. This is all great, by the way.
As Farrant is in outside the off stump, touch of width, and it's got through cover. Racing away down to the boundary. Beaumont's after it, won't catch it up. 4 more to take New Zealand past the 50 mark in this 12th over. They're chasing 198 to level the series at 1-1 with 3 to play, and they're now 53 for 1 in this 12th over.
But just because it's a great thing that they're playing more cricket doesn't mean that it's
a reality.
Yeah, it's unprecedented. You know, they've never had to experience this before. I think we heard Alex Hartley talking about Sophie Eccleston after the back of that test where she bowled 60 overs in those 2 innings. She's never had that workload before.
In goes Farrant again, looking to nudge a single, but can't because Siva's there in the covers to field. Yeah, it's not simply the volume though, it's also the intensity, which is also part of it in the muscles, in the workload, in the mental. And also they are, I mean, not in sort of stringent biosecure bubbles, but they are in managed team environments, haven't quite got the freedom to go out and get away from things as well. Farrant's in again. It's another dot ball to mid-off. Boundary off the over from Farrant, but she gets a little low 5 from captain Heather Knight as she passes her there in the field. End of 12 overs, and New Zealand took just the boundary off the over, so 53 for 1 with Lauren Down on 11 and Maddie Green there on 9. I think I saw Heather Knight just signalling to Sophie Eccleston, who's come up from she was down on the fine leg boundary, that she's going to bowl the next over from the pavilion end, and that seems about right. Get him some spin, try and find another quick wicket. Already New Zealand are over quarter of the way there. There was a bit of a breeze earlier. It's still around. It's a relatively still day. The trees are just swaying a touch at the very tops of the leaves, but where there's much wind that might assist any drift. But new over, defence. Back at the pitch as Kate Cross is continuing from the Diglis end of the ground, and it's Lauren Down who is on strike. That partnership, the opening stand broken with the score on 40. Susie Bates really well caught in the end by Danielle Wyatt, low down. That cover when the umpires wanted to have a look and make sure the ball definitely carried. So that was the wicket to Kate Cross as she's continuing now. And Down stands with the bat raised, keeper standing up, and Cross is in, cutting, it's in the air, but sufficiently behind point to beat the fielder and go for 4. It was hit hard. Tammy Beaumont was in that position at point, just played late enough to evade the fielder. This is the difficulty that England have right now with their bowlers, is that they seem to be bowling 5 pretty good deliveries, back of a length, just in the slot, nice line as well, but there appears to be at least 1 boundary ball and over in reality. And that's going to be enough for New Zealand with the run rate. Absolutely is. He goes Cross again. Now she come back from that. Ball's a little fuller. It's not taken a very thin edge. It's going to go down to the boundary for 4 more. Is it buys? No, it's come off the bat. So very, very thin edge. Keeper standing up. Slip in place, but just flew. And nothing that Charlie Dean at deep third could do. She made some ground across her left, but the ball went so quickly. Yeah, and that, I mean, we were talking about boundary balls a moment ago. That was not a boundary ball, that was a good delivery. But with Jones stood up, and Dean there a little bit wide down at third man boundary, didn't have a chance. 61 for 1 in the 13th, and Cross in again, defence this time, coming forward. Beaumont's there at points to field. It's the second time she's sent in a rather loose return to the keeper, and it's backed up by Siva. But you just want all these little things to be just that much tighter, be accurate with those throws in, because another time, again, it could be a single that is sneaked. And snuck in, yeah, snuck in. I think. Gosh, I'm questioning myself now. But it's also, it gives us a signal to the batters that they're on top. Cross in again, driving in the air off the face of the bat, but past Cross, who tumbled in her follow through to try and save runs. It is a dot ball because Eccleston's there at mid off to field, but not entirely in control of the shot that time. The ball coming off the face of the bat and in the air, momentarily back past the bowler. But that's what we have seen from Cross, is that when she bowls the good ball, they're really tricky. It's just back of her length, rising as well, and she's got that on occasion surprising bounce that comes with it. One more ball left in this over. Not all we see. She's in now, past the umpire. Holds on a length forward. Now taking a quick single now to Beaumont. Throws the ball wide of the stumps at the non-striker's end, and they're easily able to get through. And perhaps because of a couple of wayward throws, it gave them the confidence to think, well, we'll take that single to Beaumont. It's the end of the over. We've had 13, and New Zealand are 62 for 1 in pursuit of 198. Green on 9, down on 20. And a reminder that it was Danielle Wyatt's 63 off 72 balls that propelled England up to 197. And I say propelled because whilst 197 all out is not a target that England, well, it's short of the target England would have wanted. The fact that England were 146 for 9, it just shows how valuable Wyatt's innings was. But 51 for the last wicket in partnership with Tash Farrant. So a bit of a scramble, but a fine knock from Wyatt. Only the 3rd time she's passed 50 in her career in what is her 78th one-day international. Her 200th game in all for England. So her first 50 at home in ODIs. And here is the spin then. Here is Sophie Eccleston. A warm round of applause, and coming on from the pavilion end with her left arm spin.
Yeah, we're in that phase then England needs something to happen quickly, and who better to turn to than Sophie Eccleston, premier white ball bowler. She likes to get in the game as well.
Yep, she bowls with an attacking mindset. There she's in now. Farson quite quickly drawing down forward, fielded by Beaumont, who comes skipping forward from point, ensures that no run is taken. Let's see how she gets on here with the ball. 2 for 39 from her 10 overs in the game at Bristol, including, of course, 2 wickets in 2 balls to dismiss Brooke Halliday and Katie Martin. Eccleston around the wicket now. Forward, single being taken. Managed to ease this in front of Beaumont at point and bringing the fielder in Dunkley from the boundary. And 1 to the total. New Zealand 63 for 1.
Stunning ODI series against India earlier this summer as well. Regularly picking up wickets. I think she picked up 8 across those 3 ODIs. I think she's player of the series as well.
Her brother's playing today at
Yes,
Lord's.
he is. That's one of those weird disconnects. Was it weird, or is it just, should we expect it?
There is something in that. Yes, it's the Village Cup final.
It is the Village Cup final being played at Lord's. We're sitting at New Road watching Women's ODI, and Eccleston's never played at Lord's.
Eccleston in full to green. Ease this up to mid-on, and there's no run. There's definitely a case for England playing one-day internationals at Lord's at least once a summer. It should just be on the circuit, because there's that many matches of a non-international standard that are played at the home of cricket, which I get is part of the almost community spirit of Lord's that they like to be involved in. As there's a defence from green, quite solid, coming forward, getting well over the ball. But this is your England women's team.
Alison, I think it's more than a case and more stand in front of you and slap you in the face kind of argument.
Eccleston in again. Oh, this is lofted. It's gone high though. Should be a catch on the edge of the circle at mid-on. Getting underneath it. Charlie Dean takes the catch, and it is Sophie Eccleston in her first over gets the wicket, and green has gone for 9. New Zealand are 63 for 2 in the 14th over in pursuit of 198.
Brilliant stuff from Eccleston, and well held there by Dean. She'll still be nervous making her way into this England side. She's hovering in the air for quite some time, and it's now very overcast. In fact, a white ball against the white clouds above her, but she positioned herself well and took the catch, and England back in the game here. 63 for 2 then, New Zealand, and they still need 135 to win.
Well, you never know which way this can go. You can just take an excellent spell of bowling, couple of quick wickets.
New Zealand's incoming batter,
some nerves,
number 17, Amy Satterthwaite.
Satterthwaite comes in, who made 79 and was the backbone of New Zealand's innings in a losing effort in Bristol. Has she got enough around her to forge not only a partnership here, but to bat through and to have others bat around her and with her?
Well, not only that unbeaten 79, but in her last match before that against England over in Dunedin, it was an unbeaten century, 119 not out, for them to win that final match. It's a consolation victory in England's reciprocal tour of New Zealand earlier this year. So a very, very capable middle order batter.
Yeah, she goes down the most experienced in this side. Off an edge. It's Lauren Down and Satterthwaite at the non-striker's end. Bit of that edge is squirted away towards the backward square boundary as some rain is falling at New Road. Very suddenly, we mentioned the overcast skies, but all of a sudden, a 63 for 2 at Dark Cloud is just starting to empty its contents over the ground. Players aren't going anywhere at the moment, though. Hopefully the umpires think it's just a passing flurry.
Lots of umbrellas going up. The important number on the scoreboard at the moment, Duckworth Lewis is 55. New Zealand ahead of that at the moment.
Well, that's always a bit of a barometer, isn't it? And Duckworth Lewis, lets you know about the resources available, the overs left and the number of wickets in hand, and sort of where and whereabouts the team should be. It's always a handy one if you can see the DLS on the scoreboard. So yeah, New Zealand just ahead of the game at the moment, but a couple of wickets can turn that very quickly. So yeah, all of a sudden that movement in the crowd as Cross is now continuing. Players still out there. There's a struck on the pad, and Peel, finger goes up. 2 wickets in quick succession for England. Will there be a review? It's Kate Cross celebrating. Will there be a review? I think she's on her way. I think Amy Satterthwaite has said, no, you're going to have to go. And so the 3rd wicket falls. Eccleston has struck, and now Cross has gone, and so Down's on her way for 22. Georgia Ellis is back with us. Well, this is a bit of a turn, 2 wickets very quickly.
Yes, definitely. Kate Cross has bowled really well there. She's been plugging away at her length and creating chances, and I think that's just the wobble ball that's come back in a little bit, taken Lauren Down by surprise, and wrapped her on the pad straight in front. Amy Satterthwaite at the other end, no need for a review. Off she walks for 22, and that brings captain Sophie Devine to the crease.
Sophie Devine.
Well, it's the 2 big New Zealand guns, really, isn't it? Devine and Satterthwaite out there together, but 2 wickets having fallen very quickly. It just will change the complexion slightly for them. And a little bit of rain as well as a quick bowler, Georgia. Do you sort of think, yeah, that might just make the ball do a little bit more off the surface?
Yeah, definitely. And I think Kate Cross is a very, very good bowler at getting any sort of movement off the pitch. It's a lot of seam movement. She was seen to get a little bit of extra carry as well, which has surprised the batters. And maybe this little bit of rain is making the pitch a little bit wet and making things happen. You sense that England now feel that break this partnership, they're right back in it.
Cross, the captain Devine off a thick outside edge down to Charlie Dean at deep 3rd. They're all spinning away. We've just seen a replay of the LBW, and it would in fact have been missing the stump. So if the review had been taken, then that decision would have been overturned.
Gosh, I think at that crucial stage New Zealand would have at least had a little look upstairs, but yeah, not to be. And
yeah, and the Duckworth Lewis with that wicket has now gone up to 71. New Zealand are now behind the rate.
How much a wicket can change things. Cross in and forward. Satterthwaite some bat on it, but isn't able to drive the ball. Amy Jones behind the stumps moves across to her left-hand side to field. These umbrellas are still up around the ground, but players are playing on through the spots of rain. We're into the 15th over, 198 the target. New Zealand 65 for 3, so 2 wickets now for Kate Cross, because she dismissed Susie Bates as well. That low-down catch from Danny Wyatt. Now Lauren Down, LBW. Satterthwaite waits, keeper standing up to Cross again. She's defending Satterthwaite. A tall player can get a good stride in. She holds that stride and she defends solidly.
Yeah, you sense now Kate Cross just running in a little bit quicker. She's got the bit between her teeth. She's making things happen for England this summer, and she's reaping the rewards of just being, I guess, boring and hammering away that length and not giving batters anything to work with, and then all of a sudden a little bit of movement and it gets them in trouble.
Yeah, she's a bit of a workhorse. Kate Cross here down the leg side into the gloves of Amy Jones, but wide, signalled by the umpire. The arms get outstretched, and there's an extra for the New Zealand total, 66 for 3, and that ball will be bowled again. Yeah, something about being a boring bowler, but it's just doing the job, isn't it? Do the job, but got those subtle variations, subtle movements. All sorts of coloured rain jackets are being worn around the ground here. Cross in once more. Satterthwaite, now that's inside edge onto back leg, and then the ball just drops harmlessly by her feet, and Amy Jones steps forward to pick up, but not quite so harmlessly for Satterthwaite, who's doesn't find the middle of the bat there at all.
Yeah,
in defence.
You can sense the England field, there's a bit more energy about them, isn't there? And I think this is the big partnership. I think it's going to be a big few overs here if England can sneak this one through.
Yeah, we'll get one of these early, they'll really feel heartened. There's some bat on that. Wide signalled. No, there wasn't. Down the leg side, it's gone towards the boundary. Charlie Dean was there, but Heather Knight chased back from slip, and she picked up, sent the ball back in. They run 2 plus the wide, and we'll have another ball before this over is finished. So just a couple of wides in the over from Kate Cross. It's also got to keep that discipline as well.
Yeah, definitely. I just wonder if Amy Jones got a bit of a glove on that. I often think to myself how many runs she saves behind those stumps, especially down the leg side.
Well, this should be the last ball of the over as Cross is bounding in now, almost Yorker length, really full. It's punched along the ground up to Eccleston at mid-on to end the over. It's a better delivery from Cross. So we've had 15. Kate Cross has picked up 2 wickets, 1 for Eccleston. England will have taken real heart from that, and New Zealand are 69 for 3 then after 15, chasing 198. A few more words from England bowler Georgia Elwes and then Henry Moran.
Yes, talking about it then, England are just buzzing through their overs now. They're running to their positions in the field. I think they can sense here that it really is in the balance, and they've got the bit between the teeth. They've got the best bowler on, Sophie Eccleston, this end, and they'll really feel that if they can break this partnership, they can bowl at one end, and they're really back in with a chance of winning this game from nowhere, really.
Yeah, this feels like a really important phase, doesn't it? So there's just a little patch of blue sky overhead. There's rain around. There might be some in an hour or so, but for the time being, play continues. We've got Sophie Devine on strike as Eccleston bowls. I've just found out something magnificent about Sophie Devine. We've got Christy Havel with us, who's a player domestically in New Zealand. We've been hearing lots about the New Zealand game today and learning all sorts of things, but this is my favourite fact by a mile. 69 for 3 is the score. Eccleston into bowl to Devine, down the leg side, chasing a wide delivery, and it is signalled wide. So New Zealand moved to 70 for 3. She has 2 tattoos on her elbows. One is a tennis racket. One is just the words "ha ha." Are you aware of this?
I am aware of this, but
in comes Eccleston. This is swatted away. That's a firm-looking shot, square of the wicket on the leg side, and what a good piece of fielding out in the deep to prevent the boundary. Tash Farrant out there running round from long leg to stop 4 runs. Every little helps for England, and in fact, limited to 2 there because that's long boundary, and have seen some 3s out in that direction, so that's some really good work. 72 for 3. So there's a tennis racket, and then there's ha ha, because one is her tennis elbow, one's her funny bone. How good? How good's that? Well, thank you, Christy.
I think that says a lot about Sophie Devine's personality, doesn't it? That she's willing to get those inked onto her skin for the rest of her life.
I mean, you might, if you're going to get anything, and make it at least a bad joke. That's just superb. Sophie Eccleston coming round the wicket to bowl to the right-handed Devine, who sweeps murderously out to long leg, and once again Farrant tumbling stops that ball and makes it look really easy, but that was travelling, and that's 2 really good bits of work from Tash Farrant that has potentially saved 5 runs across those two shots. 73 for 3 is the score, and the target for victory 198. This game I still feel is quite finely poised, Georgia.
No, it definitely is. I just sense this is the big partnership. England know it.
Eccleston in to Satterthwaite. A little bit of bounce. It's defended into the ground. There's no run.
Yeah, I think if they can be patient here, not search for the wicket. Sometimes when you go searching, that's when the looser balls come. If they can be patient here, frustrate these 2 New Zealand batters, and definitely feel they're in the game.
Eccleston bowling. It goes past the outside edge and through to the gloves of Jones. And that was a good ball. Eccleston with hands on head. And 73 for 3 it remains. It's one that just skidded on past that outside edge. Satterthwaite yet to get off the mark. She played really well in the last game. And she's forward now, looking for that first run into the offside. But Beaumont and Wyatt, like a pair of excited mosquitoes, sweeping in the offside to prevent that run. End of the over. 16 have gone. We're going to have some drinks run onto the field by the collection of Freya Davis, Sarah Glenn and Catherine Brunt. Brunt is actually carrying what appears to be the entire sort of stocking supply of umpires' uniforms. That looks like the whole job lot.
She's found a new job for herself, hasn't she? I'm not sure how pleased she's going to be about having to do the new 4th umpire, but she looks quite at home there with the umpire's jacket on, feeding them some beverages.
Yeah, it's got a bit chilly out there, so the umpires are getting some extra layers. And it looks as though Catherine Brunt has well, would you like this one, sir? We can do this in a medium, a large.
Speaking of Sophie Devine and her tattoos, I actually tried to give her an idea for one once, and she shot me down. I said, "You should get a bee on your knee."
Oh, the bee's knees.
The bee's knees. I thought that was a great idea.
Good.
Yeah.
Why has she not done that?
Didn't go down very well. She's not done it, but.
If you put a tennis racket on your elbow, a bee on your knee,
that's what I thought.
It rhymes. It's a saying. I mean that feels really disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to remind her, and she might be up for it now. It was a few years ago.
I might put a pint of beer on my stomach. Possibly. I'm trying to think.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a good one.
There's so many options. Get in touch. Hashtag BBC Cricket. If you want to join the conversation, I can sense Phil Long's brain to my left, working in overdrive.
No, possibly the worst tattoo I ever saw was a gentleman who did have quite a large beer belly, shall we say, and he'd on that tattooed two of his favourite brands of beer.
No.
And it just looked. Well, it didn't look good.
Unless, and I'm just going to take a little bit of artistic license here, unless he used to go out with someone called Stella. He's just amended the tattoo.
Yeah, somebody called Guinness.
Oh, right. Right, okay. That theory's gone. Right, understood. 73 for 3, the New Zealand score. They're chasing 198 for victory. It's finely poised game, this. Amy Satterthwaite and Sophie Devine in the middle. There'll be a few New Zealand players feeling a little nervous in that dressing room, knowing this partnership, as you rightly say, is so important.
Yeah, they haven't got a history of chasing well. Their middle order will need to step up here. Still a long way to go. Another 130-ish required, and the bulk of those runs I think will need to be scored by these two. They won't want to leave too many for their middle to lower order to get.
And if there's rain about, we'll need to keep an eye on Duckworth Lewis Stern as well, which could play a part. Here comes a new over to be bowled, the far end, by Kate Cross. Moving in, head bowed towards us from the Diglis end. To bowl to Devine, cuts away as far as Beaumont, who does well at backward point. That's a good stop, because that was travelling.
Yeah, I think one thing you know is Sophie Devine, she's not going to die wondering. She's coming at you. She's going to hit that ball hard, and it needed everything that Beaumont had behind that ball to stop it going to the boundary.
Cross turns at the end of the mark. Keeper standing up to the stumps. She's in now, and that's played off the hips into the leg side for one. No one, in fact, because well played by Dunkley to run in a field.
You just mentioned DLS, Henry. Yeah, 74 is the DLS target at the moment. New Zealand 73 for 3.
Oh,
that's close.
Good game. Cross at the end of the mark. Once more running in. Legs pumping to bowl at Devine. He looks for that gap on the leg side, and there's no run, so 3 dot balls, and you just sense that this really is the heart of the battle here. Every delivery feels like it's got real energy to it.
Yeah, and each delivery sort of swings one way or the other. You sense the more dot balls that England are bowling, the more you feel like there's a wicket coming, and then if New Zealand break the shackles and can get the ball away, they feel a bit more on top.
Here comes Cross. That's hit away hard, but well done from Beaumont again. And the crowd appreciate that in front of us, because it's not too far away where Tammy Beaumont is having to dive across some fairly tired, used wicket ends that have been busy this summer. And mid-September, they're at their roughest.
Yeah, they're nasty, they are. You get them spinning, spitting out at those wicket ends. It is a horrible place to field. She does very well.
She seems to relish it, though.
Yeah.
She seems to love diving around. Here comes Cross again, 73 for 3. Full delivery, clipped away, and it will beat the fielder, and diving at mid-wicket, and there is that shot to break the shackles. Dive from the fielder in the distance to try and haul the ball in, but I think the collision between ropes and fielder will see 4 signals. So we spoke about that release shot, and there it is.
Yeah, I think that's the experience of Sophie Devine as well. She's not bothered about facing dots. If the ball's not there to hit, she knows that other balls will come that she can score off, and suppose that's the difference between the good players and the great players, is having that patience to sit in there and wait for it and be able to put it away when it comes, actually.
Cross will feel frustrated, having just erred onto the pads. And Devine moving to 8. Here comes Kate Cross, final ball of the 17th over. Cross sprinting in. It's again worked into the leg side for a moment. There was real excitement from Amy Jones, who thought that it was possibly pad first, but quite comprehensively off the bat. And so Devine will keep the strike. 78 for 3 is the score. Second game of this one-day international series. We've got plenty more live cricket coming for you on 5 Live Sports Extra. The start of the series between Australia's women and India underway Tuesday night. You can hear that. It'll be a really interesting battle. And then as we move through the rest of this week, this series continues on Tuesday during the day. We've got the third ODI of this series. We'll be heading to Leicester and then Derby and then finishing up in Canterbury. Forward comes Devine, pushing that ball behind square in the offside as Eccleston starts a new over.
Yeah, they come thick and fast this week, don't they?
Yeah.
It's game rest. Not usual for an ODI series for the women.
Eccleston round the wicket, Devine forward, and Knight will have to plunge to her right to stop that ball at mid-wicket. And that's quite physically demanding. I mean, that's a lot of, it's a lot of overs. You can understand why someone like Catherine Brunt is being rested today, to just keep the risk of injury as minimal as possible. Eccleston bowls and hits Devine awkwardly as she tried to pull the ball away into the leg side. And she just takes a moment to compose herself. And it is a dot ball, valuable dot ball, 78 for 3. I've got an important question to ask you, Georgia, about yesterday at the Aegeus Bowl. As in comes Eccleston, a quicker delivery which is thrashed into the leg side towards Danielle Wyatt, and a single is taken, 79 for 3, because you were playing there for the Southern Vipers yesterday.
Yeah.
But there were some rather excited supporters on the ground as well. Am I right?
I have my own fan club there, actually. The Lionesses are staying at the Hilton Hotel, having played there at St Mary's on Friday night, and I had a rest day on Saturday, ironically, and we're all out on the balcony supporting.
Very nice too. This is pushed away into the offside by Amy Satterthwaite, so the likes of Lucy Bronze up there cheering every boundary.
It didn't quite have the cricket etiquette.
Was it a bit football then?
Yeah. There were T-shirts being flung and swung around in the air, and it was brilliant. I was loving it, but it was a bit raucous.
Eccleston bowling to Satterthwaite, who'll get off the mark with a little push round the corner into the leg side.
Yeah, we've put in a request for them to be there at the final on Saturday.
Oh yes, at Northants.
At Northants, but no, they'll be back to their clubs by then, I think. It was lovely, actually. It was really nice. A lot of noise came from that end of the ground, and as I went out to bat, I hadn't even faced the ball yet, and it was like I'd scored 100, so there was a little bit more pressure on me.
Well, you rose to the occasion. 84 not out, was it?
Yes, something like that.
80 for 3 is the score in this game. New Zealand 18 overs in, chasing 198. Well, what I like the idea of the sort of football crowd, sort of, asking the umpire if they don't know what they're doing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they were the sort of crowd that was clapping wides. And,
No, here comes Kate Cross. Whipped in the air, just short of Danielle Wyatt. There could be trouble at the non-strikers, then throw comes in and misses. Devine was halfway down the track, almost had time to discuss what was for dinner with Amy Satterthwaite, and had to turn quick sharp to try and get back.
Close. I think a direct hit might have been more interesting, but throw was a little wayward. Difficult for Kate Cross to gather.
So the score remains on 80 for 3. A further 118 runs required for victory. It's an interesting game, this, finely poised. Cross turns and moves in again to bowl to the left-handed Satterthwaite, who drives back to the bowler on the bounce. Are any of that Lionesses side keen on their cricket?
I think there were a few. There's certainly more who didn't have a clue what was going on. They were just there for the sunbathing and the entertainment. But I think there's a few. I think a couple played growing up. I know Lauren Hemp is a good friend of Maddie Villiers. They grew up playing together.
Cross bowls to Satterthwaite, who defends. There's no run.
So yeah, I think there are a few of them who knew what was going on, but
I love. Do you know that phrase? Oh, it's a very knowledgeable crowd. You never hear them say this is a deeply ignorant crowd. They really have no idea what's going on.
Yes, well, I mean, you could tell from the way that they were going on yesterday that they didn't really know what was going on.
Cross bowling to Satterthwaite. He plays the ball up towards mid-on. It's fielded, and there's no run. That scoreboard remains on 80 for 3. We've got 2 balls left of the 19th over. 198 is the target. If he missed it earlier on, Danielle Wyatt scored an unbeaten half century. Just the 3rd time she's passed 50 in an England ODI shirt, on her 200th appearance for her country. Cross bowling. This is driven up as far as mid-off, and there is no run. And England needed that partnership between she and Tash Farrant, worth 51 at the back end of the innings, because they were really struggling. That's what set this game up, and 118 further runs feels still quite some way away. They're ahead of the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern par score, which is at 77 at the moment. But a good succession of dot balls here from Cross is helping just rein things in. Final ball of the over, down the leg side, that won't help. It goes through, flying past Amy Jones, and will not be cut off. So 5 wides to really boost New Zealand's total, 85 for 3.
Yeah, it's that left-hander again, that pesky left-hander. We say there's not that many of them around in English domestic cricket, and I always feel like when a left-hander comes in, it's something we struggle to bowl against for some reason. It shouldn't be. It's only a foot, I suppose, in line, but always seems to cause problems.
Cross coming in again to bowl to Satterthwaite, who is caught behind. Well, that is probably a deal that Kate Cross will take. The 5 wides followed by the wicket. Really sharp work from Amy Jones. Standing up to the stumps, Satterthwaite goes for 1. That's a huge moment in this game. 85 for 4. It's a 3rd wicket for Kate Cross.
Yeah, absolutely. She's deserved this, and she'll take that. She'll take the extra ball. It looked like a little bit of bounce off that length that she's been getting all day in her spell, and she's really deserved these wickets. She's plugged away. She's done the hard yards. She's charged in and tried to be boring, and just feel like that is the wicket that England wanted. And you see the energy, they see they're up and about, and they know that this New Zealand middle order are capable of a collapse.
Well, that's the thing that England will be hanging on to here, and they'll be no doubt saying around the new players coming in, because Devine's still there, 10 from 14, but 85 for 4. Satterthwaite gone, Bates gone.
New Zealand's incoming
pressure starts to build. Who's going to be the vocal one out there for England?
Oh, I think they all will. I know Tammy Beaumont, she's a live wire in there. She won't shut up about it, and I think this is where you want your batters, your Lauren Winfield, your Sophia Dunkley. They've got the energy, they're not having to bowl. You want them to be up and about and loud, and all the fielders in the ring trying to build that pressure, pulling out the diving stops, putting their body on the line to try and create dots and create pressure.
Eccleston, start of a new over, wheeling those arms around, and Devine happy to punch that ball into the ground defensively. So the score remains on 85 for 4. Grey clouds overhead. Eccleston, the long sleeves, the hair tied back, the cathedral in the distance, and here comes Eccleston once more. Very full dugout, up as far as Charlie Dean fielding at mid-on, playing for England for the 2nd time. We'll wait to see when she'll get an opportunity with the ball.
Yeah, shouldn't be too far off, I don't think, now.
Eccleston with a little bit of a swagger moves in past the umpire, round the wicket, and Devine looking to find the gap in the offside, and does so. The dive from Sophia Dunkley cannot prevent the ball from racing to the cover boundary. Very useful runs just to ensure that the pressure stays on the bowling side. 89 for 4 for New Zealand's women.
Yeah, I think again Sophie Devine just pouncing on that short of a length ball from Sophie Eccleston, and Sophie Eccleston had her head on her hands, but she knows she's not far off. And I think that's the thing with Sophie Devine, you know she's going to come that hard, that actually she will give you chances because she can't help herself.
Devine sees a full delivery punched into the offside, and it gets a dot ball. That's the thing that England will be hoping for, just tempt her.
Yeah, absolutely. Flight one up a little, get it above the eye line. Hope she mishits one to mid-on or mid-off who are waiting for that chance.
Eccleston in. That's a flatter ball, worked round the corner for one. Sprinting in the distance is Tash Farrant. So the score moves to 90 for 4 rather, with a ball left of the 20th over. 5 Live Sports Extra bringing you every ball of this series between England's women and New Zealand, as we have brought you every single ball of the women's international summer.
Yeah, I like this from England. They've got a slip in place. Halliday, golden duck in the last game. To Sophie Eccleston.
Eccleston in. It's a delivery that's defended rather awkwardly into the offside, but successfully, and that's what matters for Brooke Halliday. 90 for 4 is the score. The target 198. I can hear a pigeon somewhere. Do you hear that?
I can hear that actually. Sounds like a happy pigeon.
Unless that's Phil Long. No, it's a pigeon. Right, I'm getting out of the way. Emily Windsor is going to replace me. Georgia, some thoughts from you as we do see Charlie Dean. What's she going to bring now?
Yeah, Charlie Dean coming into the attack. I like this from Heather Knight, I like this move. Be bowling to Sophie Devine, and like you said, Sophie Devine, you always feel like you're going to get a chance with her, and I think the off spinner coming on, she'll fancy herself to take Charlie Dean down, but again that brings in the wicket abilities, and Charlie Dean's a clever bowler, only in her second ODI here, but she bowled beautifully in her first.
In comes Dean to Devine, that's hit back to her, and that's a bounce just before.
Yeah, very quickly, Charlie Dean replacing Kate Cross. 6 overs, no maidens, 3 for 33.
Charlie Dean at the top of the mark again. Coming into Devine. She's played that nicely late, used the pace on it, and that's running down to third man, but it's a bit wet out there now, so it just stops in the outfield. So they come back for a couple. Devine moves to 17, 92 for 4. And that weird noise is still the pigeon. It's not Georgia Elwes choking on the sweet next to us or something.
Oh yeah, he's come to join us for a while, hasn't he?
Must sound very weird in your ears, and I apologise for that. Dean in again, gone for the sweep. She's played that nicely. She's hit that hard. She's split the 2 fielders, and that's 4 to Devine. She moves to 21, 96 for 4.
Yeah, it's a lovely shot from Sophie Devine. Sounded so nice off the bat, and the sweep is a nightmare for a spinner. I think you could pretty much play to any ball that a spinner bowls, and it must just be the most frustrating thing. You think you've bowled a good ball out of the hand, and away it goes for 4.
As Dean in again to Devine, this time quicker, and that's outside the off stump, and she misses. Good bit of bowling from Dean. Got the reverse out yesterday, didn't you, Georgia? You love
Saved that till the end. Saved that till I was in and I seen it okay.
There's Dean at the top of their mark in again to Devine. That's swept away, this time in front of square. Beat mid-wicket, and 4 more to Devine. That's a hell of a shot. She moves to 25, 100 for 4. And that is New Zealand's 100 up.
That is the hockey in Sophie Devine. She grew up playing a lot of hockey, and that is just a bunt through mid-wicket.
Dean in again. This time misses again outside the off stump. Good battle this. Trying to run it down to third man. End of the over then. 100 for 4. New Zealand. 29 overs remain. They're chasing 198 to win. And there's a change in the commentary box. Yes, Georgia is departing, and Henry's writing me a lovely message. I hope it says I love you, Emily. No, it just says Christy Havel from New Zealand is joining us to our right. And what are your thoughts so far, Christy?
I'm a little bit nervous, a bit stressed, but also not surprised that we've somehow ended up in this position.
Eccleston in, and that's pushed into the offside by Halliday. Will be no run. Don't be stressed. This is an exciting game of cricket, Christy.
It is. It's what we're here for. It's what the fans are here for. So, hoping for a good outcome.
Eccleston in to Halliday again, and this time cut to the offside again. Fielded nicely by Tash Farrant. What do you know about Brooke Halliday? She's performed well. She's sort of that one to watch in this New Zealand batting lineup, isn't she?
Yeah, has had a couple of good seasons for Northern Districts, and obviously, apart from Amy Satterthwaite, is the only other domestic left-hander in the country.
In comes Eccleston to Brooke Halliday, who's driven nicely through the covers. That's a sweet shot. The ball is holding up though because of the wetness, and it just about gets there. 4 runs to Halliday, 104 for 4.
Great shot there from Halliday. We saw Eccleston get her wicket in the game in Bristol, but she's off the mark here. Brilliant drive through the covers for 4. She'll enjoy that one, just to take the pressure off her shoulders slightly.
Yeah, good bit of intent as well. Sophie Eccleston, an exceptional bowler, England's star bowler, and she took it to her there, driven through the covers. Eccleston again. Now there's a cover sweeper out as well as she comes in to Halliday, and this time turned into the leg side. They come through for a single. Good batting by Halliday, gets the boundary, gets off strike. 105 for 4. Does she so she scored a weight of runs? Does she bat higher in the domestic cricket in New Zealand?
Yes, she does. I'm just trying to remember. I think she opens in one format, not that I can remember exclusively which one, and she also captains her side as well.
Eccleston in again, forward in defence, will be no run. So Nick's a clever cricketer as well, got a good head on her.
Yeah, really works the ball around. Not as much of a power hitter as some other players, but can definitely score boundaries and knows what her options are.
Eccleston into Devine, forward in defence again. Will be no run. 105 for 4. That's 28 overs gone. 22 overs remain. 198 is the total to chase down. And we'll be seeing the battle of Devine and Dean again. That was an exciting first over of Charlie Spell.
Yeah, and you look at the youngster for Sophie, and I'm not surprised that she's going with intent. I think sometimes if you see a youngster at the beginning of their career, you want to sort of just go at them and try and unsettle them a little bit. So it will be interesting to see how Charlie Dean responds from here.
She'll be bowling to the left-handed Halliday though to start. There's a slip in play. I like this move from Heather Knight, the captain, and Charlie Dean. Obviously the ball spinning away from the left-hander. As in comes Dean, bowls, quicker delivery, play and miss outside the off stump. Charlie Dean as well. I don't know if you've seen much of Charlie, but she's an off spinner that tends to turn the ball. She gets a lot of revolutions on the ball. So it'll be a real challenge for Brooke Halliday. In comes Dean again, bowls, and she's gone to cut it again. Oh, was that Nick? That was a nick, and that's a drop by Amy Jones. Could it be crucial?
I like the slip in here from Heather Knight. Winfield Hill parked up at slip, and as we're seeing, Halliday just needs to be careful here that she doesn't carry it away.
Yeah, good bit of bowling from Charlie. That's a wider delivery, and she's chased it. In comes Dean again. This time played down. It's gone over the top of Slip's head into the floor, and they come through for a single.
That'll be an indoor cricket background coming out there, I think. Nice wee bounce over the slip.
Is indoor cricket big in New Zealand?
Yeah, reasonably. Quite a few of the White Ferns have played indoor cricket for New Zealand as well.
The battle continues then. Dean to Devine. That's full delivery. That's driven out to the cover sweeper. Will just be a single.
Amy Satterthwaite and Leah Tahuhu, 2 names that have also played indoor cricket. Could you imagine Leah Tahuhu steaming in off a couple of steps on an artificial indoor wicket? I couldn't think of anything worse.
I might pass that one. Either that or I'll be stood by the square leg umpire trying to hit it. Dean into the left-handed Halliday. Bowls, and that's forward in defence. Will be no run. Heather Knight does the fielding at mid-wicket.
We know that Halliday can score runs, a couple of half-centuries during the home summer, including one on her debut, so she just needs to hang tough here.
Dean in again. She advances. That's hit over the top, and that'll be 4 runs. She doesn't need to hang tough if she can do that. Halliday moves to 10, and 111 for 4.
It's a great shot. She definitely doesn't need to hang tough. She shouldn't listen to me. She has just danced down the wicket here and driven that nicely as the rain starts to fall.
Yeah, it does. It's looking a bit grey out there. It's a fine drizzle. It's a shame earlier in the day. It was beautiful sunshine when we arrived, but it's just got a little bit chilly. And a bit of drizzle ahead of us. And the New Zealand fans in front of us enjoying the boundary. They were up on their feet. That shot from Halliday.
Yeah, they've all moved into their winter gear now, haven't they? You know, the woolly hats, the full works.
They've come prepared for this English summer. As in comes the left armour, Sophie Eccleston. That's quicker delivery, that's bounced a bit. Devine can't get that past Heather Knight at mid-wicket. Do you feel Devine's the key here?
Absolutely, I think if she's got one eye on Duckworth Lewis Stern, if the rain continues to fall, we know that she can pull the trigger, but just needs to be sensible as well.
Eccleston in again, turn to mid-wicket, same result to Heather Knight. Eccleston bowls quickly, doesn't she, as the left arm spinner, so skillful. As you can hear the pigeon again, it's still not Phil making silly noises as he searches for the pigeon. As Eccleston in again, pushed into the offside, they think about a single. Tammy Beaumont does the fielding, no run. 111 for 4, chasing 198 to win here at Worcestershire. There's the drizzle still in the air. Really, it's helping England as well, because the outfield's just getting that little bit slower, isn't it? As Eccleston into Devine, that's driven back to her, again no run. Eccleston fires it back and it hits Devine, and that's beaten the person backing up. And is that going to go for 4?
Please tell me this will be a Ben Stokes World Cup scenario.
I don't think, has that gone for 4?
I want to get some revenge as a Kiwi for that debacle.
It didn't get all the way to the boundary rope, unfortunately, Christy. So after all that, it was a dot ball. And the brollies are starting to come up now. The rain is really starting to fall. The umpires, though, not twitching. They seem to be out there, but as you can imagine, the crowd in a cricket game, when you can just start to see the umbrellas popping up, the coats coming on, everyone's searching for cover as Eccleston in, and that's hit up on the pad, no run.
New Zealand just need to be careful here that they don't lose a wicket, and I really don't want to put a commentator's curse on that, but a wicket here and then to come off for rain would be not ideal depending on the Duckworth Lewis Stern calculation.
It's currently sitting at 100 and New Zealand are at 111, so they're ahead of the rate as that's pushed to extra cover. Again, no run. That's the end of the over. 87 needed to win then for New Zealand as the umpires are coming together here. They will have a conversation. 111 for 4. The 4 wickets to go. Lauren Down was LBW to Kate Cross for 22. Susie Bates off the bowling of Kate Cross again, caught by Danny Wyatt at cover for 28. Maddie Green caught by Charlie Dean at mid-on off the bowling of Eccleston for 9, and Amy Satterthwaite off the bowling from Cross, caught behind by Amy Jones just for the 1.
Nice to see Lauren Down getting a couple of runs today. We saw her getting quite tangled up in knots against Catherine Brunt in Bristol, but nice to see her come out today with a bit of intent. Obviously no Brunt here, but...
And they're coming off for rain. The umpire looked at the clouds to the right behind the pavilion, which is obviously where the rain's coming, and they've made the decision to come off for rain. So it's 111 for 4. Duckworth Lewis score is 101. So should we see no play for the rest of today, New Zealand would obviously take the win, but hopefully it's just a shower, it's not heavy rain. I'm expecting to see New Zealand to come back on the field, but this might actually be a timely break for England to come and rebuild, regroup.
24 overs.
Where do you see this going then? Should we come on? Should we get the 4 overs? What are you feeling, Christy? Still nervous?
Always nervous until I see the winning runs. Until I see the winning runs hit. No, I think New Zealand will be well aware that they just need to hang in there. Crucial that they maintain this partnership. They've got plenty of time. We're not in a hurry. 87 from 26 overs if the full allotment of overs remains, but. Yeah, there shouldn't be any pressure on them from the run rate overs remaining perspective.
So the covers are being pulled on here. Tractor did half the job, then the groundwork of the groundsman pulling them on to cover the wicket. The score 111. Well, they've taken the score away from me. 111 for 4. And the highlights we go through of the batting innings. Danny Wyatt was the top scorer with 63 not out. Lauren Winfield-Hill with 39, and a fantastic 10th wicket partnership with Tash Farrant coming in at 11 with 22 were the main scorers. Heather Knight contributed with an 18. It was a really mature innings we saw from Danny Wyatt.
I couldn't believe that was her third 50 in one-day cricket. That just blew my mind. A great innings from her. I'm still not convinced on on her not being at the top of the order. I really like her as an opening batter in one-day international cricket and also in T20 cricket. But I mean, if she were to fill a role down in that number 6, 7 area, she does a fine job and a great asset to any batting lineup. So huge credit to her today for that great knock.
And looking at the New Zealand bowlers, was there a particular bowler that stood out to you today in that bowling attack?
I think Hannah Rowe finally getting some reward for her good bowling. She's been around the White Fern setup for a few years now and has some good patches and some not so great patches. So it's nice to see her finding some more consistency and getting some reward for that. Kasprick, as always, is a threat. We haven't got many spinners with us on this tour, so to see her also doing some damage as well is always nice to see.
And looking ahead to the World Cup, obviously Amelia Kerr, the leg spinner, she's a fantastic bowler, obviously not on this series, as she's obviously recovering from mental health. Would you say, would Kasprick and Kerr get in the same World Cup squad should Kerr become available?
It's interesting because I'm not sure what the ICC regulations are for this World Cup in terms of squad numbers. I don't know if there's if they're adding a couple because of COVID. Kasprick and Kerr, I would imagine, would definitely both fit into the same World Cup squad.
And starting 11? Do they both fit into your starting 11?
I mean, possibly, getting towards the end of a New Zealand summer, depending on what sort of wickets are cropping up, who the opposition is, there definitely could be some potential to fit both in, because we know that Kerr bats higher up the order as well, so it's not like they're also competing for the same batting position down at the tail. So,
and really as well, they're different spinners, aren't they? Like Kerr is more of a traditional leg spinner. She turns the ball, she's got the googly, whereas Kasprick more varies her place, and you said earlier she sort of bowls sliders, doesn't she?
Yeah, really floats it up there, but gets a nice bit of outward drift with it as well. So completely different, and I think it would definitely be worth a look at both of them in the same one-day team, and I'm sure that if Phil had the details with him, that I'm sure they've played in the same lineup plenty of times before.
Yeah, and again, let's just look ahead to the World Cup from a New Zealand perspective as we've got Christy Havel next to us. Looking at their batting lineup, would you say that's how you expected to see? Is there anyone sitting in the wings that could potentially be pushing for a spot? I'm really putting you on the spot here. But obviously we're expecting to see the senior players, Susie Bates, Satterthwaite, Devine in that team, Katie Martin, obviously the wicket-keeper. But is there any places you think that's up for grabs?
I think the likes of Lauren Down, potentially Maddie Green, they are people that have been around for quite a while, but just sort of struggling to get consistent runs. And I think if we look at who we have back home, you get the likes of Anna Peterson, Katie Perkins, Frances Mackay, Kate Ibrahim, who have been at or near the top of the domestic run scoring charts with multiple hundreds each season. They are great one-day cricketers, so it will be interesting to see whether they chop and change too much throughout this series. I think there's definitely some talent waiting in the wings and also some experienced heads that have played at previous World Cups. Obviously they're not here on this tour. I'm not sure whether that's something to read into or not, but there's still a long way to go until we get underway in March, and we all know what can happen with form and injuries, so it will be interesting to see what that final squad looks like.
And surely with it being at home, form's got to come into consideration, because if you have a player, say like Frances Mackay, who in your domestic season goes and scores tons of runs, is in good nick, surely this New Zealand selectors are going to want to pick their batters that are in form in their home conditions.
You would think so, but I mean, in the same argument, you would potentially think that those that are scoring big runs at home should warrant a spot in the White Ferns batting lineup, but that hasn't proven to be the case. And if they are selected, often they're batting in quite rogue batting positions in the lineup, say 9 or 8, when they're used to opening the batting for their domestic side. So I can't speak for the White Fern selectors as to what their logic is when they omit those types of players who have the weight of runs behind them, but they won't be short of options if they decide that a couple of players in this current squad don't fit the bill for the World Cup.
So we're here at Worcestershire We're off the rain currently. All the covers are on the square. New Zealand are 111 for 4, chasing down 198. So they need 87 to win. But currently the rain is still falling, and we're seeing all the covers put on across the square. So it'll be interesting if we see a return of play. But we're gonna have a few more thoughts from Christy, and then I'm gonna pass you over to the wonderful Henry Moran.
Unfortunate that the rain's fallen here in Worcestershire. New Zealand needing 87 from what is currently still 26 overs remaining. They are 111 for 4 with Halliday on a runnable 10. Devine, the skipper, there with her 26 off 34. I'm not sure at what point we start losing overs, Mr. Henry Moran, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough.
Don't throw me that as if I know the answer. That's outrageous. Phil Long will know the answer though.
Well, it's generally an hour, isn't it? And I think this is only a shower, but there's a lot of covers gone on, hasn't there?
Yeah, there is, and I've got the rain radar app, which gives us a bit of a guide, and there is a little bit knocking about. There's sort of a nasty splurge of weather as I look at it that is going over Worcestershire at the moment, and it seems to run rather frustratingly we're right on the cusp of it, but we're in it, as in the same way we got away with it at Taunton during the T20 series. We haven't really got away with it today, and it runs potentially, possibly for the next hour or so we might be in a little bit of strife. So that's our concern. In New Zealand, it's worth pointing out, if the game were to be abandoned now, there's no suggestion of that, but were it to be, they would be ahead of Duckworth Lewis Stern. So there is that element to think about as well. So the England players will be desperate to get back on, because they know that this is an opportunity to potentially take a really big step to winning the series if they can get the win in this game. But at the moment, New Zealand's game, if we get no more play, we hope we will see more play, but the rain is falling at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see. There is more work being done by the ground staff, who are trying to do all they can to get this sorted and covered and everything else. But in a moment, we're going to be listening to a little bit of audio to keep you entertained. But before we do that, Ali Mitchell, we're looking out in the middle. We think that Phil's probably right about an hour or so before we start losing. I mean, that's typically what it is. And you're looking at me and saying, well, don't ask me that question. But that is typically what you look at. I guess the other thing that we have to bear in mind is that here at Worcester, we have no floodlights, and this is mid-September.
Lights could play a part later on, couldn't it, even if it's not rain. But I think by the radar, it is going to move through. See, that Phil Long was the reason I drove to the ground today, because there was some rain on the forecast. So we will be smug if we're driving back and Henry's walking. Yeah. But let's hope that when the rain does clear, we can finish the game.
Yeah, or you don't forgive me for my comments earlier and I'm walking home, yeah.
Well.
Quite possibly. But I tell you what, at the moment, the Duckworth Lewis Stern is sitting at 100, and New Zealand are ahead of that on 111 for 4, so that's important to note. But I mean, I think we will get back on. I don't think this will be the end of the game by any stretch, but it's just a matter of how long will this last for, and is it going to be a sort of 45-minute delay? Could it be an hour, and then we're back on, and then is there enough time to get the rest of the game in with fading light? But I mean, if the cloud clears, again, the light might be all right.
We've seen enough cricket to constitute a game, because it's 20 overs. That's what we need in the second innings. That's the requirement to ensure that we will get a result. But what we haven't got is at the moment any sort of, I suppose, satisfaction, because you want the game to, 24 overs in the second innings after 50 in the first always feels a little bit unsatisfactory. But we'll wait and see. And certainly looking to my right, there's nobody on the balconies from the England dressing room or the New Zealand dressing room that look like they're sort of eagerly ready to get back out there, because it's not quite set in, but it is quite sort of...
It's steady drizzle, isn't it?
It is steady drizzle. It's proper sort of September stuff, isn't it,
Very
Phil?
grey in the background.
We came here, and I mean, you're always in your shorts, but this is...
I know, I cannot believe that, 4 hours ago we were moaning about how hot it was in here and how awful this gorgeous September was.
I know.
And now we are in full autumn mode, aren't we?
How foolish we were.
We were.
To make that sort of assertion.
Well, the temperature dropped quite markedly as well, didn't it? Once the sun had gone, you could almost sense that some rain was on the way.
The covers are coming off. We have a restart time in 9 minutes from now, with New Zealand at 111 for 4, and this match now a 42 overs a side match, and New Zealand's target for victory was 100 and 198. It has been revised down now to 183. I think that's what the scoreboard is telling us. The statistics and details we have is that the cut-off time is 18:22, so that's when the match is due to be finished. 42 overs aside, and the scoreboard says that 72 runs are required. And with New Zealand currently at 111 for 4, that tells me that they need to be to 183. Alex Hartley is alongside me. It's been a frustrating interlude, but the England players look ready on the boundary edge. Can they win this game from here? I mean, it helps New Zealand, doesn't it, that delay?
Yeah, it does help New Zealand, but I also feel New Zealand have been slightly hard done by with that. But I suppose that's where wickets make things awkward when there's a rain delay, don't they? So you'd back New Zealand to be favourites, but you never know. A couple of quick wickets, and we know how fragile this New Zealand batting lineup can be.
Well, indeed, and that's what England will be banking on, hoping that they can get those quick breakthroughs that might just cause a few problems for New Zealand. So that's what England are looking to do. New Zealand desperately trying to ensure that they get over the line and level up this series. Phil Long, our scorer, is alongside us. Phil.
Henry, how good is your rain radar? You said we'll be off for an hour, and we're going to be off for an hour.
Well, I paid £2 for that app, and it's got me all the details, you see. It's well worth. It's worth every single penny. I use it. I use it most days. That one. It's a useful app that keeps us up to date with everything, and it's told us that we're pretty much on the edge of things that have been tumbling down. Overhead, Alex, it looks actually all right, doesn't it? It's quite light cloud.
Yeah, it looks all right. The weather's been coming from the right, I think, as well, from where we're looking out of this commentary box, and it looks all right over there. But it has gone bitterly cold.
Has it? Because I've not really been out. What's going on?
Well, I've had to shut the windows. You know, this morning when we felt like we were in a greenhouse and I thought I was going to get a lovely suntan. Well, now I've got my coat on, my hoodie on, and it's cold.
Yeah, and I saw you had to have a lie down up in the commentary box just to sort of snuggle up and keep warm.
I did, yeah. Those rain delays, there's not much to do, so I like to relax.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, relax. You were looking through some notes. You've got one of the neatest notebooks, actually, out of everybody that we work with, which, you know, people may think that, you know, you as a World Cup winner, you don't need to do the research. Not a bit of it. You are always there. You always bring a little bit of information to the table that I'm not expecting.
Well, you know, I like to keep people on their toes.
You certainly do that. 111 for 4 is the New Zealand score. Play will resume in about 5 minutes from now. And Phil Long alongside me. It's sort of, Duckworth Lewis, rain delays, re-evaluated targets, sort of thing that makes your life more complicated, I presume?
Always more complicated, yeah. And as Alex said, you're never quite sure what's going to end up in the sort of shakedown. And but with a low-scoring game, it obviously means that the target seems, as a percentage, to be larger than you would expect. So the target hasn't come down by that much, but we lose 8 overs, 42 overs. And I think you mentioned it, didn't you, that cut-off is 6:22, 18:22. That is important because there's no floodlights here at Worcester. So when it gets dark, it gets dark.
Yeah, indeed. And so this time of year, the sun sets, and that's it. Well, it's like that every time of year, but it sets when it sets earlier here in September.
That explains why it's not a day-night game. I was wondering why it wasn't.
Also, weekends, they quite often make them during the day, I suppose.
Oh yeah, do you know what? I don't really have weekends at the minute. It's either a working day or a day off.
Yeah, tomorrow's a day off.
Tomorrow's a day off.
Yeah.
It's Monday, isn't it then?
It is, exactly. So, it's the life in cricket, eh?
It is. I'm going to spend it travelling to Leicester.
Yes, very nice too. And Phil shakes his head, being a man from that part of the world.
Well, can there be any better Monday than to travel to Leicester?
No.
Exactly, thank you.
Is the right answer. Right then, what have we seen in this innings so far? Let's bring you the lay of the land in this game, because it's been interesting and sort of ebbing and flowing a little bit. We've seen a couple of the big guns going, but there is still the fairly sizable force of Sophie Devine there on 26, not out, alongside Brooke Halliday on 10. Susie Bates went for 28, Maddie Green for 9, Lauren Down 22, and Amy Satterthwaite for just 1. If England can get Devine quickly, that will change a lot.
That's the key. Devine is key to this run chase. You know, she's the batter that's scoring all the runs at the minute. If England can get her early, they can win this game. But equally, Devine needs somebody to stay with her. Brooke Halliday in there at the minute. She's 10 off 10 balls. She needs to stick with her. She's due some runs. I think she's a really good player, but she's not had the best time so far over here in England.
Indeed. One thing I've noticed actually, Alex, during this little break that we've had, is that the supporters out in front of us,
They just turn around and stare at us, don't they?
they need some entertainment. So there've been quite a lot of people watching of us in the commentary box. I don't know about you, but I feel quite self-conscious. Oh, there's Izzy Wong walking.
Izzy Wong's coming over.
Oh, a little wander around. You never know who you're going to see right in front of the commentary box. Izzy Wong, Birmingham Phoenix player, part of the England setup as well. And she's popping up to say hello to George Railwis, who's part of our team here. But it's been, quite an interesting half an hour or so. We've had people wandering by. We've had the cake trolley going by. It's always somewhere where you see things happening here at Worcester.
Well, we've got a big window, haven't we? But I often forget that people can see in as well. So I've been laid on a bench, just relaxing, having some fun. I turned around and there's some kids taking photos of me.
Well, there you go. You're never off duty in this job, Alex.
I've learned that lesson today.
Right then, I'm going to get out of the way because we have play about to resume. The umpires are striding to the middle. Alison Mitchell is standing by. Alex, you're going to head off as well. We're going to get Izzy Westbury in for a double change. So a few more thoughts from you. Ali's coming in to take us through this next little phase of play. And then we'll see where we are after, well, hopefully no more rain.
Hopefully no more rain. So the required run rate for New Zealand is 4.6. Oh no, it's 4, sorry. So they need 4 runs per over going into this last little phase after the rain delay. So they'll be looking, they can take their time, but I think they'll want to get going. Devine, she's batting well. She's 26 off 34 deliveries, so she'll be looking to carry on. And Brooke Halliday, she's not had the best of times, as I said before, but I think she's a really good player. And if she can stick with Devine, build an innings, play herself in again, because it's one of those cases where you've got to start again, New Zealand could be in with a chance.
Hello, Alex. Well, the rain did go. We thought it would, didn't we? You're going to make way for Izzy Westbury, so we'll get Izzy settled in. So 111 for 4. The revised target 183 then, so another 72 needed from 108 balls. Never ideal when you've had a bit of a break in play, but England were out warming up, trying to get themselves back into the groove before getting back out there with the ball. And so everything shifts around a little bit as well with the number of overs that each bowler can bowl. Nat Siver has bowled 4 so far, and she's going to pick up duties from the Diglis end of the ground and bowling to the left-handed Brooke Halliday. So we're ready to go again. There's a fine leg in place, no slip, keeper standing up, and she's defending forward outside the off stump, and Siver picking up off her own bowling. So Halliday was unbeaten on 10 when the rain came down, and Sophie Devine with her on 26. Izzy Westbury, who do you think the break will be helping?
I feel,
as Siver is in, that's buying you a couple more seconds. This has been carved, played quite late, down to third man. And setting off quickly for the first, eager to get a second, but the throw comes in into the gloves of Amy Jones, and it's just a single, so that's the first run after this rain break, 112 for 4.
I feel aggrieved for New Zealand. I feel this, the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern method is a sort of an unknown entity to most of us, including me.
It's had a fair run at deciding games over the years.
I feel that algorithms are designed to try us, to test us, but it does feel as though New Zealand have a bit of a steep chase now that we're in reduced overs.
Siver in, it's Devine's first ball after the break. She works it off her hip down to deep square. Dunkley comes in off the boundary again, just the single, the throw comes in. Well, they were ahead on Duckworth-Lewis-Stern at the point the rain break happened.
Yeah.
On the resumption now, they're behind.
Yeah, so when the rain break came, DLS, the par score was 100. They were 111 for 4. They needed 87 off 26 overs to beat England, and they now need 72 in 18.
Siver is around the wicket. It's a left-hander, beats her into the gloves of Amy Jones. She went back, and Siver has her hands on her head, not far away from the outside edge of Brooke Halliday's bat. Amy Jones standing up. Yes,
so it's effectively calculated that they would have got 15 runs from 8 overs, which seems absurd.
Well, we'll put you on the hotline,
but that does seem quite odd.
We'll put you on the hotline to Mr. Stern. Fuller, driven thick outside edge, fielded a backward point by Beaumont, sends the ball back into the gloves of Amy Jones. That delivery just a few moments ago, though, is to say, not only it passed the outside edge, but it bounced and it went only fractionally over the top of the off bail. That's why Siver had hands on her head, because close to being bowled, at least taking the edge.
I mean, I get that this factors in wickets in hand and things like that.
Siva charging in now. Halliday wants to play it late once again, but can't get that ball away. And it's a dot ball fielded inside the circle to end the over. So 113 for 4. 25 overs, this revised run chase, which has Izzy very disgruntled.
Yeah, and I feel as though it leaves New Zealand in a bit of a spot, but also I think it does start to raise a few wider questions as well, because Duckworth-Lewis-Stern, wonderful as the algorithm is, and it's been applied very successfully to many matches, especially in England, which are quite often rain affected. It is designed for men's cricket.
But you could also say, I mean, it's designed, it works, it's just applied around the world, isn't there? And there are so many different conditions,
and we
which
just kind of
come into play, which aren't, you've got to go with something, don't you? I mean,
of course. Oh, don't get me wrong.
What else do you
I
do?
don't want to start designing a new algorithm. I mean, it's quite nice to have your name to it.
Well, I was going to say, I'll tell you what would happen if you do, because clearly Duckworth and Lewis had charge of the algorithm, and Stern is an Australian man called Stephen Stern, who now has authority of the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern now system. So that whenever Stephen Stern dies, someone else is going to have to take charge of it.
No, I'm not volunteering for this, Alison Mitchell.
Or DLSW, I think. Eccleston continuing around, the wicket she goes, and Divine's forward, but opens a face. It's fielded at point. Beaumont coming forward, no run.
We were having a chat about this, and you found out that Stern was added to the name, so to speak.
Yes, when he took over from
to factor in
Duckworth and Lewis.
Extraordinarily high run chases.
That's what he added to the system himself. He's coming forward, nudge into the offside again. Beaumont in very quickly to field and no run. So he added something to the algorithm to take account of chases with a higher than average
rate. And so you could argue, therefore, that women's ODI cricket tend to be a lower than average run rate.
That is true. Around the wicket goes Eccleston, a little bit quicker this time. They're forced away towards point, again finding the fielder and no run.
In which case, you'd imagine that the algorithm needs adapting.
There we will have a fourth letter in the name then, eventually.
And I think, I mean, so let's look at this situation and the nature of New Zealand's team, for example. They're top heavy. I mean, you've got Susie Bates, you've got Devine, Satterthwaite.
Then goes Eccleston Fuller, and a bit quicker as well. Bat and pad together. Can't work it away again. And Eccleston picks up, coming forward as the ball comes to a dribbling halt on the offside of the pitch.
They're almost the England of 5 years ago, where they relied on a small handful of very good players. And once they fall away, and Bates has already gone, Satterthwaite as well, cheaply for just one, and Devine just left in there. That's a lot of pressure on her shoulders now.
But you can't, unfortunately, make an algorithm to suit the makeup of every team. As Eccleston is dropped into the offside, and she will get a single away this time. Amy Jones pulls a glove off as she scampers across to her right to field.
New Zealand also won the toss, elected to field.
Yep.
And so they knew,
well, that's another thing that you could also add to this, that when England batted, it was broad sunshine and it was beautiful. And now we're in overcast, on-off rain conditions. It's pretty horrid. And I don't think New Zealand necessarily knew there was going to be rain. My forecast did not have rain.
Oh, mine did. That's why I drove to the ground. Forward, it was in the air, just off the face of the bat momentarily, and well fielded in a follow-through by Eccleston. The ball didn't carry to her. Fell just in front, but she tumbled to the ground. And 114 for 4 then at the end of the 26th over, with Devine on 28 and Halliday on 11. But it all comes into it, though, doesn't it? Isn't it? The beauty of cricket, that nothing is equal in this game, because we can discuss and pull apart so many aspects of it. It's the weather, it's the conditions, it's adding 100 stats to T20 stats.
Of course.
It's adding ODI 50 over cricket stats to games when there were 6 ball overs and 8 ball overs.
And I think having this conversation is another very interesting element to cricket.
Indeed. Siva continuing now, and Devine is bowled, coming forward, going for a drive. Siva has got through, and in only the third over after the resumption, it's the New Zealand captain who is out, and Sophie Devine is gone for 28, only managing to add 2 to her score from before the rain came. New Zealand then 114 for 5 now, with this revised target set at 183.
And that's
got a little bit harder.
That's incredible, really. Now you factor in the rain break, you factor in the Sophie Devine wicket, and now I'd say that England are favourites, which is extraordinary considering that they only made 198. There was a 40 run opening stand. England have not had a great record setting scores in this summer of ODIs so far. But now, all of a sudden, I'll put England in favourites, which also, incidentally, makes me grumble because that just messes up my match report. But that's a very selfish, personal thing.
We'll give you a moment to rewrite it in a bit. But in Sophie Devine, those 28 off 41 balls, not many of those balls have been in the resumption. So there are a lot of dot balls that she faced prior to the rain break. Will be blamed on that. Katie Martin then has come out to join Brooke Halliday, and Sophie Eccleston bowling at one end of the ground. It was Eccleston who dismissed both Halliday and Martin in successive deliveries in the Bristol game, but for the moment it's Siva who Martin is going to be facing up to, with Amy Jones standing up. It's a point, cover, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, standing well in front of square, protection on the deep mid-wicket boundary, and she's up on her toes and she's looking into the offside, where there's a tumbling stop from Beaumont at backward point, moving to her left. Gets up and dusts away the dirt from her knees. Kate Cross is patrolling the deep third boundary directly in front of us.
Well, she's got a broad smile on her face because she's bowled extremely well so far. Certainly the pick of the England bowlers, and only bowled 6 overs, so she'll have a few more to play with.
Yep, 3 wickets for Kate Cross so far. Siva is in again, knocked into the onside. Mid-wicket, bit of a chase across. In fact, it's left for Dunkley to move in off the deep mid-wicket boundary, and a single is added. 115 for 5, needing another 69 to win. The run rate, it's 4.4 an over, so 16 overs left. So a lot of cricket to come. We're not expecting any further delays, I don't think. That radar just seemed to have one lot of cloud that was moving across the ground. It's very overcast still, and it still feels really dank around Worcester, and the light is not brilliant. This one, it's carved behind point, gets it away past the infield. Will be picked up inside the boundary though, just the one. And Halliday moves on to 12, 116 for 5. So yeah, we had 3 wickets from Kate Cross earlier. Eccleston dismissing Maddie Green as she was caught by Charlie Dean, and then Siva bowling Sophie Devine after delay for rain. Brooke Halliday, remember, was dropped when she was on 5. There was a chance for Amy Jones standing up to cross. Siva in again. It's been played very late. Round to third man, guided. And Kate Cross then went to field it, and the ball ricocheted off her hands. I reckon it get her on the bottom of the chin. Gathered it in the end, send it back into the middle, and just the one. Oh, she's looking like it didn't hurt. She hasn't touched her chin once yet.
When you're fielding in front of a crowd, you can't show any signs of pain.
She knows we're watching, doesn't she?
Yes. Oh yes.
117 for 5, 66 more needed. 16 more overs after this. Siva around the wicket she goes. The left-hander beats her into the gloves of Jones, who then feigns to whip the bails off, making sure the batter knows that she's right there behind her shoulder. So this ends another over. 27 gone. And Halliday on 12 and Martin on 2. 117 for 5. Wicket taking over from Siva.
So useful having Amy Jones standing up to these kind of bowlers, because it just gives no wriggle room at all to the batters. You can't come out of your crease, you can't start trying to manoeuvre things round. You've got Jones just kind of over your left shoulder, just a constant presence, and she's so handy with the gloves. Yes, it means that there are going to be nicks that go down because you can't possibly hang on to them all when you're in such close proximity, but she really is such a brilliant wicketkeeper, and it's a hypothetical almost to start comparing her to Sarah Taylor and then the era that she played in, but I think she's rivaling her in terms of quality, skill. Such an accomplished keeper.
Yeah, I've seen her take some fabulous stumpings down the leg side, catches down the leg side, quick reactions. Charlie Dean has replaced Eccleston here, nudged forward into the offside and towards points, backward point, fielded again by Beaumont and no run. So we've just had the one over from Eccleston then, but she's bowled 7, so the restrictions, have we had the number of overs for each bowler?
Yeah, so we're taking 8 off.
Full start from Dean, carry on Phil.
Yeah, so we'll take 1 off, so we'll take 1 of... let me pronounce, let me get it right.
We'll come back to you. Dean is over the wicket with her off spin, stroked out towards cover, straight to the field and no run. 117 for 5.
Rather Phil telling you than me. I've got no idea. I'm assuming that they'll be bowling 8 each or something.
Normally we get a missive.
Yeah, well, it's all 8s and 9s, so I was trying to work out the combination.
Here's Dean, little fill of that time. The thick outside edge, it's running away down towards the deep third boundary. Chases on, dive put in, but the boundary has been scored. I think the rope's rather been taken away as the dive was put in by Beaumont. Chased it all the way back in front of the D'Oliveira stand. So welcome boundary for New Zealand, albeit off a thick outside edge, but they need these runs. 121 for 5, another 62 more needed from 15 overs.
Yeah, 2 9s and 3 8s
Okay.
to make the 42.
So Eccleston can bowl another 2 overs. It's a matter of when is she used.
Yeah, her economy rate is brilliant.
Dean in again, flatter delivery, quicker, bowled. That one's got through, and Katie Martin has gone. It really seemed to scoot on. And so another wicket tumbles. England are striking early after this rain break. New Zealand's starting to fall away. They're 121 for 6, needing another 62 from the last 15 overs.
Well, Ali, you asked me who the rain break favoured before we'd really seen much play, and I think I was quite resolute in New Zealand being the worse off of the two, and now even more so. It was good bowling there from Charlie Dean. She picked up a wicket in her ODI debut last week.
But it's just her second ODI wicket.
Yeah. It was a bit more expensive then, but that was an accomplished one. That was a lovely off-spinner's delivery. Turning on a track that hasn't offered that much turn. But clattering into the wicket. Martin's defence, not the match for that delivery. And that'll give a lot of confidence as well to Dean.
Hannah Rowe has come out. After Hannah Rowe, it's Jessica Leah Tahuhu, Lee Kasparek, who we noted has an ODI 100 to her name and did bat well in partnership with Satterthwaite, but Satterthwaite was a set batter in the first ODI. He went on to make an unbeaten 79, whereas England have got rid of all the top order. They need Brooke Halliday to play a fine hand here, but Hannah Rowe is facing up now to Dean, and she's forward, finding the middle of the bat, is gently easing it up to Eccleston at mid-on. I mean, Dean has broken through. Do you keep her on now, or do you think, right, do we turn back to the more experienced Eccleston to try and break through, or just trust Charlie Dean? So let's see what more you can do.
It looks as though Heather Knight is keeping Eccleston in reserve.
Yeah. Dean in, quicker, fuller, punched up to mid-off. I think she's a little slow to react at Winfield Hill, and it's 4 through long off. There was a half attempt at a stop from Heather Knight, who's down there on her knees. It's wide, sort of short cover position, tried to dive for it, but she missed it. And I think that's why Winfield Hill didn't react immediately, because he thought that Knight had it.
Yeah, I think it was one of those, you watch me, I watch you, and then nobody goes for it in the end. A bit of ball watching, and that landed in New Zealand's favour. So it means that the required run rate just tips a little bit into their hands. 4.1 per over now, but I think the wickets column is going to be that
yes.
real one that's of concern, because their tail is not as strong as England's. We saw the 50-run partnership for the 10th wicket between Tash Farrant and Danielle Wyatt, and I don't think this is a New Zealand team that can offer that.
Well, unless it is Kasparek again, he can do something special, but Siva is continuing now, and this is blocked by Halliday into the offside, and Knight is there to field this time, and no runs. Got 14 overs left into the 29th of the innings.
So 42 overs is the number of overs that New Zealand will play in this innings. So I can imagine that Sophie Eccleston might be held back for a few towards the back end of this innings. Cross, of course, has bowled well.
And goes Siva to the left-hander, struck on the thigh. She looked to work that to the leg side. And be left for Amy Jones to pick up, moving forward from behind the stumps.
Cross has bowled 6 overs, so she could possibly have 3 to play with. 3 for 33 from her 6. Tash Farrant has bowled a good economy as well.
Yeah, he's gone for less than 3 and over. And Kate Cross has taken the wickets, yet been the most expensive, which can sometimes be the case, rather than Charlie Dean. 24 runs from her 3 overs, but a wicket. It's a beaten point, cut away by Halliday, fielded on the boundary by Sophia Dunkley. And New Zealand 126 for 6 with the single, so brings Hannah Rowe on strike. Yeah, Siva has picked up the 1 wicket so far. Big one of Sophie Devine. Hannah Rowe, tall batter. Long blonde ponytail, snaking almost down to her waist. Amy Jones still standing up, and Siva over the wicket out to the right-hander, and she forces it away, but only as far as Dean at mid-off. A clean piece of fielding. Dank sort of conditions, grey cloud hovering over the ground. Very little breeze now to move the cloud along, which could have an impact on the light later on perhaps. But England need 4 wickets here. They're striving as Siver's in. Runs out through mid-wicket here from Rowe. Dunkley moves in off the boundary. It's just the 1.
What that rainbreaker also allowed England to do was just to regroup a little bit. They were a bit ragged in the field. We saw some wayward throws into the stumps at both ends, a few misfields. Just gave them opportunity to reflect, to steel themselves, knowing that they were still in the game as well, that the rainbreak would help them.
Halliday faces up, Siver in, nudge square, brings cross in off the boundary. In fact, it's going to be beaten there by Wyatt, who's coming all the way from the deep square leg boundary, sprinting out of the blocks, greyhound style. And a single's taken off the last ball of the over. So 128 for 6, New Zealand needing another 55 from 13 overs. That run rate still hovering 4.1, it's now 4.2. They would just want to, New Zealand can get a big over and just bring that run rate down to under 4s. But again, it's the wickets column, and can the batters in this lower order do the job to see them through? Just want to mention, Izzy, because we've been keeping an eye on the news around the Pakistan tour, of course, England's women going out along with the men, or due to. Now we understand that the ECB board hasn't yet met to discuss the decision, but PCB CEO Wasim Khan has been speaking. He's conducted a virtual press conference today. Of course, Wasim Khan, formerly of it's Paris and Warwickshire, former PCA involvement, and former Leicestershire CEO, of course, as well. So we'll come to that in a moment, as Dean is around the week with the left-handed Halliday. She lets that go into the gloves of Jones, who whips off the bails for good measure, making sure Halliday knows she's there. He says, we know what the guidance is as regards England. He says they're meeting today, or we believe they haven't yet met today. We know from a security perspective there is a clean bill of health. He says Dean is in. He's gone for a big stroke, inside edge onto foot, which is leaving her hobbling. And the ball's left to be picked up by Winfield Hill, who's back in a slip position here as England are on the attack with the new batter. So mid-on is being sent back to the boundary.
Good from Dean this. Halliday's 14 from 24. You can see she's getting frustrated. She's going for that big hoik.
Dean up to the stumps around the which she bowls with the off spin. A little bit shorter, enough room to cut out to deep backward point, where Danny Wyatt cuts it off. And a single is added, so she still can't find the boundary, which is what New Zealand desperately need. 129 for 6 with 3 more balls to come in this over. He's basically saying, well, he says, we certainly hope England tour. We certainly believe they should be coming and hope they will be coming based on what the competent authority in Islamabad and the security expert is saying. There are more quotes online generally about the circumstances around the New Zealand departure from Pakistan, as Dean is in again, clipped through mid-wicket. Vacant region past Heather Knight at short mid-wicket, and Wyatt again moves in off the cover boundary to field. It's another single. Yeah, I think there probably will be some news tomorrow. We expect some sort of statement, if not certainly a meeting tomorrow, and you'd expect then some sort of statement perhaps on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Halliday hovers over her bat, and Dean is in, going for that big drive again, but can't time it, and Dean picks up off her own bowling. The ball thuds into the turf and then back into the hands of Dean, playing in only her second one-day international, making her international debut at Bristol. Around the wicket she goes now to the left hand, a little more flight to that delivery, and she stretches and can't field the dive in her follow-through, enables them to take 1. That means that Halliday will keep the strike for the start of the next over. So there's been 30 in the innings, 12 overs left, 52 runs needed, and the run rate is still hovering. And New Zealand 131 for 6. So it's that wickets column. England know another 1 here really put the jitters amongst New Zealand. Jess Kerr is next in, and then Leah Tahuhu, and then Lee Kasparik. So how will Heather Knight use her bowlers? There's going to be a change already, because Kate Cross is going to come on, who has said taken wickets, taken 3 of them. It has also been more expensive, but wickets are the key here. Alex Hartley is back. So Alex, I'm going to leave you, then Henry Moran is coming in. Over to you.
Yeah, wickets are key. You almost feel like with the wicket of Sophie Devine that this is now England's game, isn't it? New Zealand are going to have to win it from here themselves. They're going to have a big partnership. But England, we said if they could get Devine early, they're in with a chance of winning, and that's exactly what they did.
Here comes Kate Cross then, round the wicket from the far end of the ground. It's jammed into the floor by the left-handed Halliday, who can't get a run. We'll keep an eye on that Duckworth-Lewis-Stern par score, which stands currently at 134. This game is in the balance.
It is in the balance. I've got a fun fact about Kate Cross.
Go on.
Kate Cross is the leading wicket taker since 2019 in ODIs.
In the world. Here comes Cross, bowling to... a little nutmeg. There it was, through the legs, down towards Charlie Dean. Fine leg for a single, 1-3-2 for 6.
For England,
Okay.
with 29 wickets, an economy of 3.9.
Really?
And that's it.
You can't argue with that.
How good?
Where'd you get that from?
Well, Izzy Wong
Oh,
came over with a stat,
I'll tell you
and I
what.
stole it. And I've texted Crossy already.
She may not get it quite yet.
Well, I hope not.
She runs into bowl, looking at her phone. No, this is played into the leg side by Rowe, out towards the fielder Dunkley in the deep. And one more is added. 1-3-3 for 6 is that score. So, to win for New Zealand, 50 from the remaining 11.3 overs after this. So, well in hand for New Zealand, who need 50 from 69 balls, but 6 down. England will feel one more, and they really are on top. Cross comes in, and bowls. It's in the air, whipped round the corner. Work for Charlie Dean to do. She scoots over, slides, and does really well, actually. That's good work. There's applause in front of us, because she had to get there. And that shirt is going to need a little bit of a trip to the laundry.
And I think she's going to have some soggy bottoms after that, because it'll be wet out there.
Yeah, it looked quite fun to slide out. Phil, you were at a wedding last night. Did you do any knee slides?
No, I didn't. I left before the knee slides.
Well,
Yeah.
you could have got them in early, sort of mid-ceremony.
Good mid-speeches, maybe.
That was proper sort of knee sliding from Charlie Dean. There's a short ball that struck painfully the batter, and immediately the umpires call for the physio to run onto the field. It was short, dug in, and Halliday was startled by a delivery that leapt up, and she is on her haunches at the moment, getting a pat on the back, and the umpires have, as I say, immediately said, let's get the physios out there.
It knocks you sick, that, when you get hit by a cricket ball in somewhere a bit fleshy. It just makes you feel a little bit sick. I think it might have clipped her in the head, actually. I think it's hit her in the head. She's ducked a short ball, and it's hit her in the grill.
She's smiling and having a quick conversation. I think she's, from this distance, she looks more shocked than she does sort of hurt, but they will do all these important checks just to make sure that, you know, the concussion checks are all done correctly. Have you ever had a concussion check?
I have.
What do they say?
So you have to tell them what day it is, what time you think it is, where you're at, and then you have to do the months of the year backwards, which I can't do when I don't have concussion.
I was going to say.
I barely do them forwards.
The umpires are content, as is the physio, that we can continue with Halliday having had a little check over. But that was quite a moment of drama as it was dug in. Let's see a replay again. It was not that short, really. It seemed to just leap up.
It might have just skidded off the surface a little bit. It was a length ball from Kate Cross. It was well bowled, really well directed, straight. She's bowling stump line.
And it is a dot ball as well. Duckworth-Lewis-Stern has this at exactly level. 135 for 6 is the score. Cross coming into bowl, round the wicket. Hard push up to fielder at mid-on. And the score 135 for 6, 31 overs gone. Phil Long.
And my other observation would be, it's getting murky now, isn't it?
Yes.
It's getting murky, it's getting dark, and it's difficult to face someone like Kate Cross in light like this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We might have to all put our phone torches on.
Yeah.
Get the floodlights on.
Well, I remember Daggers telling me, because we're so used to seeing floodlight games now. Daggers was telling me, in his playing days when he was at Warwickshire, so the early day-night cricket he played, they would literally get the floodlights in on the back of a lorry.
Yeah, I've played a club game where they hired some floodlights.
Right. And they just sort of, wheel them in?
Yeah, wheel them in, turn them on. Off they go afterwards.
Charlie Dean bowls a quick delivery first up, which is played into the ground from the right-handed Hannah Rowe. It is a dot ball.
It's nice to see Charlie Dean get some wickets.
Yeah. Another opportunity for the 20-year-old playing just her second game for England. Moving in now, and that's punched back towards Charlie Dean, who does well. And actually, everything about her body language says that she feels more and more the England cricketer.
Yeah, I think she believes she deserves to be there, which is key. You need to have confidence when you're playing for England.
She's in now, over the wicket, off-spin bowler. Appeal for LBW is given. There's another wicket for Charlie Dean. Hannah Rowe is given out LBW. And there's not much, looking at the replay, surely, that will save her. She has gone for the review, but England are celebrating.
Yeah, that looked very out. She's gone back and across, and it's hit her probably off stump middle line. It looks very out. Something has to be terribly wrong for this not to be given out, I reckon.
The only question will be if there's any bat involved. I mean, it didn't look that way.
I think they've reviewed this because it's their last chance.
Here comes the replay on the big screen. We look out there. I can't see any bat initially. The only question might be impact, which potentially could, my guess would be umpire's call for impact. I think that there's not enough to suggest, well, that looks pretty gone to me, doesn't it?
It looks pretty out. But she's not walking off.
No, I admire the confidence. I think she might be now just beginning the approach. There's no inside edge, and that was perhaps the only hope, as we now wait for ball tracking. Won't be going over. I'd be very surprised if it were. And here comes ball tracking, and impact in line, wickets hitting, top of leg stump, and there is another wicket for Charlie Dean. So England do have the wicket from Hannah Rowe. New Zealand 7 down. That will change the DLS equation. 135 for 7.
Yeah, Hannah Rowe not playing the right shot there, playing across the line. In this situation, that's not what you want to be doing. The required run rate 4.6, so they don't need to do anything too drastic. They can just keep knocking the ball around and trying to look for those singles. They don't have to do it in boundaries. But she went back and across to a slightly quicker delivery from Charlie Dean, and she has to go.
If New Zealand are to lose this game, it looks, I don't know, it feels to me the momentum's really with England now. Having had England in the position that they were in early on in the innings, Alex, and you look back at that scorecard, England at one point were 145 for 8. 146 for 9. I mean, that's the more significant stat. To have not been able to get that final wicket quickly and then to tumble away as they're doing at the moment, that would be a real blow.
Yeah, it will be. Going into the second innings of this game, it's New Zealand's game to lose, and again, for New Zealand, it's just losing wickets at key times.
Charlie Dean has the ball in hand and has the important breakthrough in this over to see New Zealand at 135 for 7. Kasparik is the new bat, and it almost goes through to bowl her immediately. It's skidded low, and that has seen a really injudicious shot.
Outside off stump for Charlie Dean. Slightly straighter, I think Kasparik would have been in some trouble.
She's got 2 wickets, Dean. She moves in over the wicket. That is a bit straighter, played into the leg side. Every dot ball will see that DLS pass score go up, and New Zealand rooted on 135 for 7. Christie over to our right is looking rather long-faced as Dean bowls down the leg side. There's half an appeal for a catch. Maybe there was a little bit of a tickle, was there? Well, Jones is saying, well, was there? And the umpire stretches the arms out to say wide ball. England might think about reviewing it just on the off chance, but I think Heather Knight has not been persuaded that it's worth it.
I think keepers sometimes go for the appeal to try and trick the umpire that it was wide.
Dean goes in over the wicket, tossing that ball up, and it's pushed into the offside defensively. End of a successful over. 32 gone. Halliday's still there on 19. Kasparik yet to get off the mark, and New Zealand 136 for 7, chasing a target revised of 183. So 47 to win from the remaining 10 overs.
Yeah, England just will be trying to push that required run rate as high as possible, get it to 5s as soon as they can, then 6s and 7s. They don't necessarily need to search for wickets, as Charlie Dean is getting a huge applause from the crowd in front of us because she's just bowled a brilliant over. And must be she's got a big smile on her face. What a feeling that is.
Has a little look towards the England dugout where they're applauding her as well, and she's got a big grin on her face, and as well she might. Start of a new over sees a wide flash of the blade out towards Eccleston at deep third. It's a run for Halliday, And New Zealand move forward to 137 for 7. You know that thrill of the first international wicket. I mean, what is that moment like? That moment where you think, okay, maybe I can do this.
I think mine was relief, to be completely honest, because the debut had gone so terribly wrong. I didn't get a wicket on debut, and then made my T20 debut, and first over I went for 10 or 12.
Cross, right arm over. It's a bowl to Kasparik, who's playing into the leg side, wants a single. It's not there. Throw comes into Jones, but Kasparik is safely back. It is a dot ball, however.
So once I did get that wicket, I was almost a sigh of relief, and you can relax and start to enjoy it and enjoy the moment, soak in the atmosphere, and that's exactly what Charlie Dean should be doing, just enjoying every single moment of this. Every time the cloud clapper.
Cross, bowls, cut away, and it goes down to Dean at third for a single. 138 for 7.
I've got tears in my eyes. Anyway, she should just enjoy the moment.
I'm enjoying the moment. Here comes Kate Cross, far into the ground, running into bowl to the left-handed Halliday, round the wicket. It's a little leg side-ish, help round the corner for 4 runs. Dean won't be able to cut that off. It goes very fine, and very useful runs to New Zealand's cause. 142 for 7, 41 to win, and this is still very much alive.
Halliday's done well there. It's just going down the leg side from Kate Cross, but she just shoveled it around the corner for 4.
Oh dear. Dr. Spooner strikes again.
I've not had one of those for a long time.
But it's always joyfully just around the corner. In comes Cross to bowl, defended. Halliday's playing a really important knock here. It's not a quick strike rate, but 24 from 34. She's still there, and she has the potential to win this game for New Zealand.
Yeah, she does. She's a good player, is Halliday. She did really well for New Zealand when England went over there in the winter, but she's just not scored very many runs this summer.
142 for 7 the score. Final ball of the 33rd over. Cross bowls and getting in a bit of a tangle is Halliday defending forward. At the end of the over, Cross has taken 3 for 43. She's got how many left in her spell, Phil? Because am I right in saying that she can bowl another 2 potentially?
Cross or Dean? Cross.
Cross.
Cross. So she's bowled 8, so she's got 1 more.
1 more,
Yeah.
okay. With the revised restrictions now, this game has been reduced by 8 overs in the second innings. New Zealand need another 41 from 54 balls. They got bags of time. The question is, wickets.
Wickets again. Again, wickets.
And what's going on out there? Oh, have we got a light meter?
Oh, it's not often we see that these days.
No. A little check of the lighting conditions. I mean, I'm not sure there's been any necessarily concerns from the New Zealand batters. They have actually had this conference, the 2 umpires, and quickly ended it. So I don't think that necessarily that's one of those where they're going to start taking readings quite yet. If indeed that was the conversation they were having. 142 for 7. 33 overs gone out of a revised 42. Charlie Dean continues, tosses that ball up, and there's a bit of pad involved and maybe a bit of bat. That's possibly what has saved Kasparik there.
Charlie Dean looks good with the ball. She's fizzing it through. She's bowling it quick.
Tossed up, driven behind square on the offside. You can see Halliday every time is trying to get on strike. She's setting off quickly from the non-strikers and desperate to try and do anything to get the opportunity.
Well, the old Hartley favourite drop and run's definitely on for Kasparik. I don't know if she's thinking about it.
Yeah, fielder at deep cover, so there's a lot of space out there on the offside. It's whipped into the leg side. Knight will pounce upon it from mid-wicket. Throw comes in, misses, and backing up is Cross. A single is taken, so it will be Halliday on strike, with the score moving forward to 143 for 7. I wonder how much danger there was with that throw. Well, it would have been close.
Very wide from Heather Knight, the throat. Charlie Dean having to put in a full-length dive to try and stop it.
In comes Charlie Dean round the wicket. Cut away, that's a nice piece of timing. But there is a fielder in the deep in the form of Danielle Wyatt out there at cover point. And so just the one more, 144 for 7. New Zealand needs 39 to win from the remaining 8.2 overs. We've got fielders in the deep. Where are they? We have deep mid-wicket, deep cover, and deep backwards square leg. As in comes Charlie Dean to the right-handed Kasparik, who's forward, pushing, but can't get a run. England could have more fielders in the deep. They've elected to keep the pressure on, and I like this tactic. I think that's... you don't often see it. Sometimes captaincy is a little bit just, well, we're allowed them, so we'll have them out. But this is putting the pressure on the batting pair to try and make something happen. Kasparik on strike. Looking for that single into the leg side. Knight runs to a right, slides and picks up, and it's just one more. So the end of the over, we'll see Kasparik on strike at the start of the next set of 6. 145 for 7, and New Zealand need a further 38 from 8.
Yeah, England won't mind that at all. Kasparik being on strike. And what England are going to do, they're going to bring on their strike bowler. They're going to bring on Sophie Eccleston, see if they can try and finish this innings, pick up these last 3 wickets.
It looks as though Sophie Eccleston will be the weapon that England hope will be able to get that way. Because one more, you feel, we're pretty much there. Phil Long.
I'm just wondering as well if Sophie Eccleston's come on because of the light.
Oh, that's a point.
Because it is dark-ish.
It is dark, but you can still see.
I don't know what to make of that, Alex.
I've gone again.
Eccleston at the Diglis end of the ground. Moving in past the umpire. Left arm round the wicket, almost getting through. Very close to hitting that off stump. As it was bowled, an inside edge just cannoned into the pads of Amy Jones, but was not far away from hitting the stumps. Eccleston looking to exert ever more pressure on New Zealand. Moving in from the far end of the ground now. And forward. Pushing into the offside. A dot ball that creeps that pressure up. Duckworth-Lewis par score is at 151. New Zealand are on 145. Eccleston in. Forward is Kasparik, desperately looking for that single. Will get it as well as tumbling and fielding. Tash Farrant inside the circle and the offside does well. And 146 for 7. 37 required from the remaining 7.3 overs.
Every time Sophie Eccleston has the ball in hand, you almost sense something's going to happen. You know, that first delivery there, she's created a chance. And this is for me why she's the best bowler in the world, all formats. I think she's slowly making her way up the table in ODIs.
She's in now over the wicket to the left-handed Halliday, who hits the ball back past Eccleston, but not past the fielder at mid-off. So it'll be another dot ball, just one from the over so far. And that is what is, at the moment, winning the game for England. It's the lack of ability for New Zealand to break the shackles. 146 for 7. Eccleston in, whirling those arms. This is sliced away, skewed away, out towards deep cover, and it's going to be 4. That was a good connection from the bat of Halliday. Gave it everything. And with the fielder running around from quite square, Dunkley couldn't get that.
Yeah, good shot that from Halliday, moving her feet, getting to the pitch of the ball, and being able to just loft it up over sort of extra cover region. And as you say, Sophia Dunkley's quite square and was probably 10, 12 yards away from the ball in the end.
Eccleston on strike, with the ball I should say. Halliday on strike, leaves it alone outside the off stump, and a dot ball to conclude the over. So happy just to let it go, let it squirm away. And Alex Hartley, after a remarkable spell, is departing. Alex, World Cup winner of 2017, part of that England side that's looking to retain the trophy early next year. Another member of that World Cup winning side has moved in alongside me, Georgia Elwes. What do you make to what we see out there? On paper, 33 to win from 7. It doesn't look impossible by any stretch.
Yeah, it's getting a bit tense though, isn't it?
It
For
is.
some reason. I think new batter, I would have liked to see her be more positive, be the aggressor in this partnership, because there's almost no pressure on her coming in, and she's lumped the pressure right back on Halliday here.
Kasperick on strike, sweeping as an appeal for LBW, which is a little half-hearted. The throw comes into Jones. That a leg bye will be signalled by umpire Milnes. Crucially, from New Zealand's point of view, it is Halliday that'll be on strike. So 150 comes up, 150 for 7. And leg byes it is. It just feels, doesn't it, that there is a sort of real sense of stress out there.
Yeah, some pressure's building, isn't it? And since that Halliday's got to be the one that does the bulk of this work here, but she's not getting much of the strike at the moment.
Dean moving it again round the wicket. That's slapped away towards backward point, but fielded by the reliable fielding figure of Tash Farrett, who's been really impressive in the field in this series, or in this game so far, and across the T20s before this. In comes Dean, moving forward. And this is a stumping surely. Amy Jones is convinced, as is the umpire, and that could be that. Halliday goes for 29, a third for Charlie Dean. It just turned away from the left-hander. The bails were whipped off. And the celebrations for England and their new spin sensation, Charlie Dean.
Yeah, super quick hands from Amy Jones there. Brooke Halliday advances down the wicket. Amy Jones got the bails off. She didn't even get back in a crease at her attempt to. So lovely bit of bowling by Charlie Dean. What a find she has been for England this series, and picks up her third wicket, and thoroughly deserved. This is looking a bit more bleak for New Zealand now.
It is 151 for 8, and that crucial Duckworth-Lewis-Stern pass score, which just gives us a guide. And if there is any more rain, which I don't think there will be, but if there were to be, that tells us who would win the game. That stands at 162 at the moment, so 11 ahead of where New Zealand are. And Leah Tahuhu, who can hit a long ball, make no mistake about that, is coming out to bat. She smacked a lusty 25 from just 14 deliveries in the last game, so with 32 to win, this is still on, but she needs to repeat the trick today.
Yeah, very much still is on. I would have liked to have seen Leah Tahuhu come in one earlier and come in when Kasperick came in and just have licence and just go, because with the score they needed 48, and if she could have got a quick fire 20-25, it takes so much pressure off, but she's got a lot of work to do here.
Dean bowls to Tahuhu, who drives that ball away. That's a nice looking shot out towards deep cover where Dunkley will field one-handed. They'll get back for 2 though, New Zealand. 153 for 8. This is heading towards a thrilling conclusion. 30 to win from the remaining 6.2 overs. Cheers for Sophie Eccleston, who's made her way down to the long-on boundary in front of us. Dean, 7 or so paces into bowl. Another big drive out towards deep cover. More work for Dunkley to do. This time just the single. Striking it well here, Leah Tahuhu. We've got 2 balls left of the 36. 1 ball left. 154 for 8. That was good work from Jones behind the stumps. Really just lightning quick. In comes Charlie Dean. Bowling to Kasperick. Wants the single into the leg side. Will get it as well. It's played off the hips. Winfield Hill will run round to pick up. And at the end of the 36th over, it is 155 for 8. 28 to win from 6. Georgia Elwes, I'm going to get out of the way. Emily Windsor is standing by to see us home. Where do you see this one going from here?
Yeah, it's tight, isn't it? Beautiful little spell of bowling there from Charlie Dean's. Really got England back into it. And I think you feel like England need to take these last 2 wickets to win this game. I think if they can put the squeeze on here, I don't think the runs will be a problem. I don't think New Zealand will run out of balls. I think it'll be the case of them running out of wickets. And Heather Knight's rightly turned to Sophie Eccleston to see if she can make that breakthrough.
What a tight finish we've got here, Georgia. 28 from 36 balls. There's Eccleston into Kasperick, and that turn straight to mid-wicket, upish.
Nearly.
Dot ball though. 28 from 35. The key is though, New Zealand 8 wickets down, so England also need 2 wickets to win this game. As Eccleston in again, forward in defence. Another dot ball. Where's your money here, Georgia?
Gosh, it's a tight one. I've got to say England. I've got to back my girls. Haven't seen New Zealand get over the line in a run chase yet.
Eccleston in again to Kasperick. That's got up a bit, but that's played nicely through the covers. Dani Wyatt has work to do coming round, and she does. So they keep it to a couple. Kasperick moves to 7, 157 for 8.
26 needed. And that rain has really favoured England, hasn't it, where it's slowed that outfield out.
Yeah, massively. And it's first signs of a little bit of turn there as well from Sophie Eccleston, which I've not seen much of today. And I mean, the only thing now is it makes it hard for the spinners to grip the ball, doesn't it, that wet outfield. So see Sophie Eccleston drying that ball with the towel.
Eccleston to Casbrick again, this time cut. Can Tammy Beaumont get there? No, she can't. Danny Wyatt again is running the length of this field, cover sweeper, but she does very well there. Casbrick picks up 2 more though. 24 needed now. 32 balls.
Yeah, she's so quick across the ground in the outfield, isn't she, Danny Wyatt? She made that fielding look really easy, and I think for most others that ball would have gone for 4, but she's saved aside 2 runs there.
4 and 2 balls really. She keeps cutting off as Eccleston, and again it's down the leg side this time. Will be signalled a wide by the umpire. Not what England need to be giving away at this stage. 23 needed from 32 balls now as Eccleston in to Casbrick bowls, and that's turned into the leg side. They're going to come through for a single. Nat Siver picks the ball up. Casbrick moves to 10. 161 for 8, 22 needed from 31. And Eccleston, is it 9 overs they can bowl, Phil? Well, is this Eccleston's last over? So she's got 1 ball remaining as it's a reduced game, just 42 overs due to the rain as Eccleston in again, and that's pushed into the cover, and Heather Knight diving to her left. There's a good bit of fielding and applauded by the crowd. 161 for 8, 22 needed from 30 then. And the crowd are really on the edge of their seats here.
They are, aren't they? They're cheering every dot ball. They know how important dot balls are here. At this stage of the game, if you can squeeze a few dots, build that pressure, the run rate can climb, and quite quickly it can go from 4 or 5 and over up to 6 and 7, and that's what England will be hoping. If they can create some pressure, and on the reverse, New Zealand, they need to just keep rotating the strike, keep trying to find the gaps and picking up the runs where they can, and take this game as deep as they can.
And Charlie Dean continuing with the ball, rightly so. She's bowled nicely in this spell since the rain. She comes in, the off spinner to Casbrick, and that's swept down the leg side. That may have hit pad or glove as Dean puts her hand on her head.
Yeah, a bit pad there. Save the wide, save the run. Dot ball for England.
Amy Jones quick to it. In comes Dean again, and this time tried to cut it, and Jones rises on it. Another dot ball for England. 22 needed. The tension's building here. 161 for 8, New Zealand. Lee Casbrick, Leah Tahuhu at the crease. Dean to Casbrick, that's pushed into the offside. Heather Knight quick to it, another dot ball.
Brilliant bowling.
Charlie Dean.
Brilliant bowling that. Bowling to a field, creating that pressure. All of a sudden the run rate's climbed from 4.5 to 5 halfway through this over.
Dean's bowled 3 for 35 so far. 7.3 overs, so been impressive in just her second ODI. As Dean in again there, so they're appealing for LBW and given. Charlie Dean has another. Lee Casbrick gone for 10, and Charlie Dean's picked up her 4th wicket in just her second ODI.
Oh, that is as plumb as you can get. Far too full to be playing the sweep shot too, and I think that was probably the easiest decision that the umpire could have made today. Smack bang in front. The pressure was building. You have to say she deserved that wicket this over. 3 dot balls in a row, and that's the 4th now. New Zealand really up against it.
Yeah, Lee Casbrick went up to Leah Tahuhu, and she just shook her head and went, no chance. No chance at all.
Don't waste a review on that one. No, that's smack bang in front.
What a day though for Charlie Dean, just his second ODI, and in this pressure situation she's just so calm.
She is. She looks like she's been playing for England for years, doesn't she? She's somebody who really knows her game, and I think in these sorts of situations that really helps to back her skills. She looks like she's really enjoying herself out there, and bowling her side to victory at the moment.
So 4 wickets so far, 4 for 35, and this is her 8th over. She'll be bowling to the new batter, Jess Kerr. So the score now 161 for 9. 22 runs are needed. Just 5.2 overs remain. Dean just setting her field right. They're sending long on back. As Charlie Dean composes herself at the top of her mark into Kerr, bowls forward in defence. That'll be no run. 1 ball remains of the 38th over. 161 for 9, and the crowd really are on the edge of their seats in their woolly jackets, coats, as it's quite cold here. As Dean comes in again, and that's driven through the offside and out to the cover sweeper. They think about 2, New Zealand, but they settle for 1. And Charlie Dean, that is a fantastic over. 22 needed now from 25 balls. England need 1 wicket to win. Charlie Dean's got 4 wickets.
Yeah, she's bowled magnificently. She's got a few different variations, and she's used them all really well today. She's outfoxed the New Zealand batters. She looks like she's been playing international cricket for a number of years, and she's loving this. She's loving the crowd getting behind her and getting her side right back into this game.
Obviously really pleasing. Her family here today. Dad, mum and sister. Mum and sister missed her debut, so they're working. So to have them here to watch that, I'm sure very proud parents in the stand. Tash Farrant comes into the attack for England. The left arm seamer. Still tight here though. 21 needed, sorry. And it's 162 for 9. Tash Farrant goes through her looseners.
Yeah, very quickly, Charlie Dean's first 3 overs, 1 for 24. She's now got 4 for 36. That's 5 overs, 3 for 12.
In comes Tash Farrant to Kerr, and that's an outside edge. That's going to race away for 4. That's not what England need. There's no third man back there. And 4 to the New Zealand total. The score moves to 168 for 9, which means 17 needed now. 23 deliveries.
Yeah, and you can see how 1 ball can make such a difference in this game and swing momentum one way or the other. That is exactly what New Zealand needed to get that runs required down to 17, and still fancy they can do this if they've got a calm head on their shoulders.
Christy Havel, hands on head at the end of our commentary box as Farrant in. That's a shorter delivery. That's pulled nicely up to long on though. A half stop as they slide. They think about 2, a bit of a mix up, but in the end they settle for 1 as the throw comes bang down the middle of the pitch. 167 for 9, 16 to win. And you just feel, if you look at the New Zealand scorecard, obviously the wickets have regularly fallen, which should they have 2-3 wickets in the hutch, they're going to win this easy. But England are right in this, needing 1 wicket to win.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it really difficult when you can't take those risks.
Farrant into Tahuhu. Yorker delivery played to mid-wicket. Good bowling by Farrant. She's a clever death bowler, isn't she, Tash Farrant?
She is. She absolutely is. She's got a number of different variations as well, and she'll use them all to good effect here. She loves the battle as well, so she'll be thriving on this.
In comes Farrant again to Tahuhu. That's pulled away into the leg side. They're going to want 2 here. Dunkley's quick to it, and they settle for 1, which is the right call there. Dunkley quick across the ground. 168 for 9. 15 to win now. It's getting so tight.
It's getting tense. Having a little chat with captain there just to make sure the plans are right. Can't afford to be leaking any runs here.
Tash with the vital knock at the end of England's batting innings as she comes in again to Kerr down the leg side. I think that's racked her on the pad. Wait for the umpire signal. Yes, it has, so it'll be a leg bye. 14 needed to win now. 168 for 9, 14 off 19 balls. But the key is 1 wicket remains for the New Zealand. They can play low risk cricket here. It's important England get their fields right. They need to take the opportunity should it come. In comes Farrant again to Tahuhu. That's chipped in the air straight to Heather Knight, and that is game. England have won this second ODI. 169 all out New Zealand, and Tahuhu gave Heather Knight a gift. Farrant picks up the final wicket. Tahuhu gone for 4, and England will be delighted, Georgia.
Well, would you believe it? The softest of dismissals to finish this game. Whether that was a little slower ball there from Tash Farrant that stuck in the surface, and the easiest of catches looped up to Heather Knight at extra cover, and England will feel like they've got away with 1. Again, not at their best today, but they've managed to find a way to win, and that is what good sides do.
So England won by 13 runs. an impressive performance, some standout performance for you with the bat. England obviously got to the total of 197. Danny Wyatt, the standout, 63 not out, and that 10th wicket partnership with Tash Farrant was key. Tash Farrant scoring 22 and Lauren Winfield-Hill opening the batting scored 39. But with the ball, Charlie Dean, 4 wickets in just her second ODI, an impressive performance from her. And a few more thoughts from Georgia about how the England camp will be feeling, and Henry Moran will come into the commentary position.
Yeah, well, what a finish. Another great game of cricket between these two sides, and again, England find a way to get themselves over the line. They just do not know when they are beaten, and they haven't played their best cricket today, and they'll know that, but the fact that they can keep getting over the line against a good New Zealand side give them so much confidence, not only just going into the rest of this series, but what's ahead with them over the winter. You've got the Ashes and the World Cup. This will put them in really good stead for that, and they have found a little gem in Charlie Dean, that's for sure.
Well, indeed, and it feels, Georgia, like a really significant win, not because England have beaten New Zealand in a bilateral game, but they've got over the line having been in a horrible position early on in their innings.
Yeah, a horrible position at a number of different times, and different people have stepped up today in roles. Tash Farrant at the end with Danny Wyatt in that partnership was absolutely crucial to take some momentum into half time, and then with the ball, it sort of swung in different directions. New Zealand looked like they were cruising it, but England kept chipping away, and that spell of bowling from Charlie Dean there, the 3 wickets, has changed this game, and I think that's the standout performance. I think it's be quite a difficult one to give the player of the match to today.
Well, indeed, you look down that bowling card, and with the efforts that were really shared around the bowling unit. 3 wickets for Kate Cross, 4 for Charlie Dean from her 8 overs. I mean, that feels like where you're going to see the player of the match probably going. But then Danielle Wyatt, her crucial knock in the first innings, 63 not out. Big innings for her coming back into the side. This, will be the sort of win that will really bring cheer to the England management and captain, because it showed a resilience, and it showed an adaptability and a way of fighting back from an awkward position, and that's something that every coach and captain wants to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is, and I think the fight in these players and the belief that they have in each other, you can see them all smiles out there. They love playing cricket together, and I think they know what this means in the context of this series. It's going to be really hard for New Zealand to come back from this in this series, and I think you can see that they're just enjoying themselves. They're enjoying the challenge, they're enjoying the battle, and they're finding ways to win, and that's what we often talk about with good sides, is that they can find, they can make winning a habit, and I think unfortunately with this New Zealand side it's the complete opposite, and they are finding ways to lose.
Yeah, and both of these things are quite hard cycles to break. I can tell you that Danny Wyatt is the player of the match for her 63 in the first innings, and what a good performance from her. Phil Long.
Yeah, as Georgia mentioned, 4 20s in the New Zealand innings. People got in, then got out. Partnerships, small partnerships. They never went on and turned those into potential match-winning partnerships. Little quirk of the day, the only 50 partnership we saw today was that last wicket partnership for England, which in the end won them the game today.
Well, indeed, and it felt absolutely crucial at the time, and a really significant effort. Now, a word on Danny Wyatt, somebody that you know well. You played with her at the Southern Vipers, you played well at England an awful lot, Georgia, and coming into this side, she's had such a funny ODI career. It's her 200th England appearance today, but just the 3rd time she's passed 50. How do you drop her now? Because it's an odd one, because Catherine Brunt goes out, in comes Danny Wyatt. You'd expect Brunt to come back in, so what do England do?
Yeah, it's a really difficult selection dilemma, isn't it? I'm glad I'm not making that call, but I suppose it's a positive thing. You've got different options, and I think that's what England are looking for in different conditions against different opposition. They want to be able to pick different players to suit that, and talk a lot about matchups. You've got Charlie Dean coming in and doing well, so teams who've got left-handers, she's going to be great against, but the way Danny Wyatt played today, it's going to be very difficult to leave her out for the next game.
Yeah, and that's the sort of selection headache coaches like to have. England victorious then. Georgia Elwes, thank you so much for joining us today, being part of the team. You're making the journey to Leicester?
Of course I am,
Come
of
on,
course.
we're going to have some fun. And then we'll be heading to Derby. There's still plenty of cricket to come from this series. 3 more one-day internationals with England 2-0 up in the series. They look in a pretty healthy place, and they'll be pretty relieved to have got over the line in that game. Just a reminder, at one point in England's innings, they were 146 for 9, then 51 runs put on between Tash Farrant and Danielle Wyatt to get England to 197, and that proved to be enough, winning the game in the end by a reasonably healthy margin, 13 runs via Duckworth Lewis Stern. In the second innings, well, it went like this. Susie Bates and Lauren Down opened the batting. It was Bates that fell first of all, caught by Wyatt off the bowling of Cross for 28 in the covers. Maddie Green made just 9 before being caught by Dean off the bowling of Eccleston. Down was out for 22, LBW to Kate Cross. Satterthwaite, big wicket, caught by Amy Jones off the bowling of Cross, having seen a wide down the leg side that allowed the final ball of the over to be repeated. That's the one that got the wicket. Sophie Devine, the big wicket after the rain delay, bowled by Nat Sibber, an absolute beauty. You can watch that as an in-play highlight on the BBC Sport website and app. Brooke Halliday made 29, played nicely but dismissed. Lee Kasprick out LBW to Charlie Dean, a part of a brilliant spell of bowling. Kasprick gone for 10, and Dean also got the wickets of Katie Martin for 6, Hannah Rowe for 7, and right at the end, Leah Tahuhu, with 14 required for victory from 17 balls, smacked that ball straight to Heather Knight in the covers, and that was that. Tahuhu out for 4, England winning eventually by 13 runs via the Duckworth Lewis Stern method. So dramatic, full of incident this game. We had a little bit of rain, that just threw things a little more into the sort of complicated side of it as we worked out exactly what was required and everything else, but in the end, England getting over the line, Phil.
2 games gone, of course, 20 wickets in both games, which suggests that as we go on, both sides might be a little bit brittle when it comes to batting, so who knows where this might go.
It's a really good point, and let's not forget, well, England will be celebrating this evening. Nat Sibber, Amy Jones, low scores in single figures for them again today. Heather Knight, who played brilliant in the first ODI, 18 in this game, so they'll be looking to see if they can just solidify that top order and ensure that the contributions come right down that batting lineup, but just to make sure that they can really go through this series with every box ticked, if you like, building towards that World Cup that starts in March in New Zealand next year. England's title defence, of course, in that.